Well, we are live. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this massive hangout. Now, with the release of Spectre dawning upon us uh, tomorrow in the UK, myself and the Watcher are here to reflect on the past, 53 years of the James Bond film franchise. So, where should we start? I mean, there's a lot of ground to cover with this. So I don't know where you want to start with this, but I would imagine we'll probably want to start towards the beginning with the Connery era.
Um, yeah, let's start off with the Bond film that started it all, Doctor No. Um,
We probably won't
do,
have time to go through all 23 films, like as we,
yeah,
yeah,
bit excessive, yeah.
yeah, it would take about 8 hours.
Yeah. Do you want to start off with this one?
I don't mind. I mean, well, just like generally the Connery era and Sean Connery as Bond, like from when he was cast, and then just a bit of background, really, I suppose.
Oh yeah, yeah, just do it like, each year, yeah, that
Just
sounds good.
do it.
Yeah. I mean, the Connery era itself, I think, it started off, I think, very well with Doctor No in 1962, which it's a film that started Bond, and I think we have to give like a lot of praise to it because it was the film that did start the whole franchise, and I think the film itself is great. Connery, like a bit of background about Connery and Bond, he wasn't Ian Fleming's first choice. In fact, when he was cast, he was a bit like, well, I think he was a bit disappointed at the time, but he grew to like accept Connery in the role, and I think Connery himself, he did a little bit of acting before this. He was a ex bodybuilder, and he did work as a milkman as well. So yeah, and casting him as Bond um, proved to be very good in Doctor No. I mean, Connery here is just absolutely great. For his first performance in a Bond film, he's just superb as James Bond. And I think he has a great delivery of the line in this film. You know, uh, Bond, James Bond. I mean, that's just such a classic line. When he lights the cigarette, and and the whole film itself, I think, is great. I mean, I kind of agree with Alan Kalo in that it is kind of like Bond on autopilot. Like, well, sorry, not autopilot. But it's kind of like a Bond film. It's kind of like a pilot. Like,
Yeah.
it kind of feels like they haven't really perfected Bond at this point. It's just like the big, it's kind of a bit like a made for TV kind of.
I mean,
uh
yeah. I also because like the weird use of kind of like they were just discovering it really, and with the whole underneath the mango tree, that whole song kind of like nowadays you wouldn't think that to be in any of the modern Bond films, but for the time it was an interesting tone that the first film did give us, like the sense of that it is quite a, well, I suppose quite a realistic, well, for the time, realistic kind of setting. Um, but with songs like that, they're not trying to make it like too full on, so they're trying to ease you into the world, and I think that's part of the reason why they've got the song like underneath the mango tree in there, as well as the way the title sequence changes music a lot of the time, like from the actual Bond theme itself by Monty Norman, which is superb. Just a classic piece of cinematic music. Nothing, it's untouchable, and then it changes to
and that's another film Connery starred in, The Untouchables,
oh
where he won
lol,
his Oscar.
yeah. Yeah, and then it goes to the that random music with the drums, and then it's the three,
Three blind mice.
like this is a James Bond film. Yeah, but surprisingly, I kind of last time I watched Doctor No, which was like about a year ago. It actually kind of made me laugh. It was like, oh, this is quite funny. Just kind of like the because it's the first one, you kind of look back in it and you have so much appreciation for it. But sorry, no, I interrupted you there.
No, it's fine. I mean, don't mind to interrupt me. No, it's great hearing what you have to say as well. So you don't need to.
Yeah, right up to you. You're fucking up.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about butting in. But
I'll tell you what to put in.
yeah, I mean, Doctor No, like you said, it's a bit basic, but you gotta respect it for what it did. I mean, Connery, here, it's his first time in the role, and he's great. He's tough, and he's charming, and he's sexy and all that, and he manages to encapsulate all that in this film, and
Certainly
he's
raised the bar, in terms of, because he's the first actor to, in the official series anyway, to take on the role and actually do it any justice. He definitely raised the bar, and he definitely kind of created one of the most iconic characters,
yeah.
him to life for the big screen. So props to Connery and the filmmakers there. I mean, the film isn't perfect, though, obviously. I mean, the one thing which I think they do very wrong is the villain, not the actor, just the way they use the villain is.
Yeah.
It's a bit disappointing just having Doctor No come in the last 20 minutes, considering he's the title character. It's like, I know they're trying to create this sense of mystery, but for me personally, I'd rather they just throw him at us from the beginning, so then we know what we're in for. Like, rather than waiting ages for it to build to something, and then because that's for me, that's I mean, I know it's the first movie, so I'm not going to shit on it too much, but I think that the last act of it kind of feels a bit like an anticlimax. Not majorly, but just because we only see Doctor No in the last 20 minutes, and then the fight is, they have a final fight, and it's not.
It's a bit shit, yeah.
Yeah, but you can kind of let it pass because it is the first film of the franchise, and
Yeah.
there's still 23 more left to go. So
Yeah, and you're talking about raising the bar. Well, he definitely did, considered as an ex-bodybuilder.
yeah. I mean, he just like he's just so like I don't know how to describe Connery's Bond in the first film he's in, but
Fucking macho!
yeah, he's macho man. But he's like the cool dude. Like
So macho.
out of the six Bonds, he's probably like the coolest in terms of like his personality. He's like the coolest. I mean, obviously you have like George Lazenby, who's like the clown, and you have
He's probably like the most laid back.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
well, either him or I mean,
Roger Moore.
actually, no, think about it. Roger Moore's quite direct, actually. Like when he wants information, he'll look you sternly in the eye, and he'll get his information. Dalton is well, he's probably the sternest of all the Bonds. He's very intense.
Very intense. Aha!
Let's buy it. Yorgie will pay for it.
Aha! Yes.
Brosnan, I don't even know what Brosnan is. He's a bit of a wuss, to be honest. Daniel Craig's the bad boy, kind of like the beefcake.
Yeah, he's like the beefy boy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of Connery, I mean, literally, because he didn't have anyone to compete with in terms of the role, so he just sort of like went in and made it his own. So good for him. A lot. I mean, some of the one-liners he has in the first film are great. Like, well, that's Smith and Wesson. You have your sex, or like world domination, same old dream, or
I'm not forgetting. Fucking hate it.
oh god, yeah, that was well from the sketches, but yeah, when he's like when Ursula Andress's Honey Rider comes out the sea, and then she's like, "You looking for shells?" and he's like, "No, I'm just looking." So yeah, he's quite. The only problem is obviously, because nowadays times have changed. Looking back on it, his he did kind of. It was a bit of a woman beater.
Yeah.
In his films, I mean, not so much in the first movie, but as his films go on.
Goldfinger.
Yeah, such a mighty touch. But Doctor No is a pretty solid film. I mean, there's no denying it. I mean, it is a classic piece of cinema. It began 50 years of the same franchise, so Doctor No is brilliant for what it did. I mean, at the time, I'm sure it was like a masterpiece. But yeah, I mean, the only thing I don't get is like the big dragon thing.
Yeah,
You know, and also they don't really like some of the side characters get a bit wasted. Like Quarrel, his,
yeah.
his death is kind of glossed over for me. I feel that, I mean, because he was such an important character, and his death was completely squandered.
And they kind of leave Felix Leiter, like they kind of forget about him.
Yeah, it's all right. We're gonna see him in the next fucking movie anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, continuing on your sentiments on Doctor No, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's a classic piece of film. I mean, it's definitely not the best Bond film. The formula hadn't been perfected yet, and you know, like we said, Connery here, he's great. I mean, the only thing that kind of you look back and then it's a bit risque now is probably that the fact that his Bond is a bit rough with the ladies, but I mean
Oh,
it was a time, so you can
yeah.
let it pass. Um, but Doctor No, like you said, it's a great Bond film. The theme by Monty Norman, the down 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 down, it's just so classic.
As we've both said in our reviews, I think it's kind of appropriate to have the Bond theme in the first film, rather than a song called Doctor No. It wouldn't make any sense.
Is it a hey or a ho?
Oh, high or low, yes or no. You know his name, Doctor No. Da-da.
Octopussy. Well, that's later.
She
Yeah,
ain't able to see.
yeah. But yeah, Doctor No. Also, I agree. I mean, the villain Doctor No, played by Joseph Wiseman, he is a very good villain. But the only problem is he's just not in it enough. He's not in it nearly enough. And that's kind of the downside of the film, is that he's only in it like the last 20 minutes, and the final fight is pretty anticlimactic. Like he just kind of hits him a bit, and then he dies. I mean, I like the fact that he couldn't climb up the thing because of his hands, but yeah, I mean, also not forgetting Ursula Andress in this film. Yeah, the first Bond girl. She's great. Of course, she's stunning when she comes out of that water, and underneath a mango tree. Connery. It's brilliant, and not forgetting others like M, and Q wasn't actually in this one yet, and we're introduced to the PPK. Of course, he had the Beretta before that, but Doctor No, just overall as a piece of film, it's a great introduction of the series, and yeah, it isn't the best. It is kind of like you're watching a pilot episode, but you got to give it respect for what it did. I mean, without this, we won't be without Doctor No, we wouldn't have
Spectre.
Spectre, yeah, which is coming out
Actually, funny
very
enough, because
very shortly.
Doctor No is the first movie back to feature, Spectre, which is funny. Because Doctor No is Doctor No is part of Spectre.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a special executive for counter-terrorism, revenge, and extortion. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting now. 50 plus years later, we're going like full circle with the return of Spectre, and the name of the movie is called Spectre as well. So, obviously, it's interesting to see how everything's kind of come full circle now, 50 plus years later. And yeah, but I mean, like to briefly, I say, kind of cap off on Doctor No and sort of, go on to I mean, we're not going to talk about every film, individually. I think like we may stop off on one or two films that we thought were particularly stand out, but we're not
Yeah,
going to talk about every one.
yeah. I was
Yeah,
going to say it would take ages, and I mean,
yeah,
let's. I mean, only touch on the ones that are important to us.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, also like the whole Spectre thing continues in From Russia with Love anyway. So essentially, like after From Russia with Love, they kind of just scrapped the continuity and just say, let's just make individual kind of adventures. I mean, well, they kind of tried to add more continuity in, like
I
with
wouldn't
Seven.
say I wouldn't say they scrapped it. I think like Goldfinger was kind of like a departure from that. It's like kind of like Thunderball kind of to me seems more like a direct sequel to From Russia with Love than Goldfinger, because Goldfinger was like completely different. But yeah, like I could see where you're coming from. Like it's kind of strange having Goldfinger like sandwiched between From Russia with Love and Thunderball, because Goldfinger is like, Spectre isn't even mentioned in that, and it's more about Goldfinger and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, Doctor No, great film, started the whole franchise. Connery's great.
Yeah.
And also the gun barrel, briefly touch on, which is,
With Bob
I've
Simmons.
heard from the reviews it's going to be at the start of Spectre, which is, great because
Fucking idiot!
yeah, yeah, H.R. Grange, yeah, I mean, uh, yeah, just hit it, yeah, I mean, yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
I think actually it's interesting how the first ever gun barrel in the James Bond franchise was done by a stuntman, Bob
yeah,
Simmons.
Bob Simmons, yeah,
You know, the jump. I mean, to
yeah,
be honest, that's the one thing I'm not really keen on is the gun barrel. Whilst the gun barrel is a cool thing in terms of the visual look of it,
yeah,
the Bob Simmons jumping just looks really silly. Like,
yeah, and also like he's kind of like he's really linked to the side, yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
Connery's always had weak gun barrels anyway. I mean, throughout the rest of his era, well, in the last three films he does the wobble. Like, it's actually Connery doing the gun barrel, and he
yeah.
kind of turns around and he kind of wobbles. It looks hilarious, but it's just like not really that good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So I think we should move on now to maybe well touch. Well, I mean, For Much of Love's kind of the same. It's another great movie. I actually think I prefer it to Doctor No. Connor, I think, gives a better performance. The film itself is pretty good, but the whole story.
Yes!
Yeah, I mean the Lecter and all that, and
Work the Spectre.
yeah, Lecter, the Spectre of the Lecter, Spectre. God, yeah. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think From Rush of Love is a great follow up, like the first sequel of many sequels to
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
series. Spectre returns. Haha.
Only 23 more after this one.
Yeah. Actually, I'm thinking like since this is like, coming up to Spectre, maybe we should focus like we'll focus on the special ones, but like we could talk a bit about like the Spectre ones as well, like the ones that specifically
Yeah.
involve
I,
Spectre.
I mean, yeah, like, and obviously with Blofeld, we have to briefly touch on the ones with Blofeld, but it'd be nice
Yeah.
to talk about the series as a whole. I mean, From Russia with
Yeah.
Love is definitely a good sequel. I mean, there's no question. It's a lot of people rank it quite highly. I personally, I do like it, but I do feel From Russia with Love is a little bit overrated. It's mainly just
Hmm.
pacing. Like, I feel the pacing is a bit slow in certain scenes, and some of the editing is a bit off. Like with adding the Bond theme in the scene, which
Yeah.
is completely wrong.
As
Like,
well about Teletubbies.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the whole point of editing is that you, with music, is that you create the tone and the atmosphere of the scene, and you're driving that along. And with that scene when Bond arrives in his hotel and he's looking through his room, you don't need the Bond theme playing. You don't even
Yeah.
need, I mean, if you have music, it have to be quite calm and suspenseful. I mean, it's not going to be some loud, bombastic, da 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 da. It to me that just seems completely. That's a big editing mistake for me. I can't ignore that. But apart from that, the film is pretty damn solid, and I mean the title sequence is probably one of the worst.
Yeah.
I mean it is only the second one, but even so, it is like the belly dancers really. Oh
Ooh.
god, it's just because you can't see a single letter. Like, well, you can't see all of the letters that appear on screen because they just projected them onto belly dancers.
The fucking Jelly Belly.
It doesn't really have much to do with the film either. Like, yeah, there's that one scene with the belly dancers, but that's about it. Like, it doesn't relate to the themes of the film or the narrative in any way. It just relates to one thing in the film. And I mean, I know it's the second film, so at the time they didn't really think of like about interlinking the title sequences. But yeah, I mean, at least the title sequences improved for the most part. But anyway, I mean, as I think it's interesting how Connery's era began, kind of the whole Spectre kind of thing. They were kind of like maybe this was to be one huge story arc that was to be explored throughout the
Yeah.
rest of it. But I think even when Lazenby was cast as well on Her Majesty's Secret Service, they had Blofeld in there. I think after like in Live and Let Die, when it came to Roger Moore, I think they just wanted to have a break from the whole
Well,
Spectre.
I don't think they did, but it was really the rights issues, which we'll get on to later. But that was kind of the reason why they Spectre disappeared for a long time, and
Oh well, see in 2015.
yeah, but I mean, second your statements on From Russia with Love, I think it's a great sequel, and I actually think it's better than Doctor No. I mean, I do love Doctor No, but it is
Mm.
a bit basic. But From Russia with Love, I think is a great sequel. You know, when I first watched it, I didn't have a lot of appreciation for it, but you know, rewatching it, I do. But I do agree it is a bit overrated. I mean, I think you're right. The pacing is kind of the main issue here, and there are some points where you're like, you know, come on, pick up the pace. But I think, like, you know, generally overall, it's a good Bond film, and you know, you have some
That
great,
fun fight as well.
yeah, like you have some great like villains in here. You have some really good villains in here. You
I
have
like
Rosa
there's
Klebb.
actually a team of villains this time, like because in Doctor
Yeah,
Who, there was a lack of villains until the end, and it wasn't that good. So I think they wanted to up the ante with villains, and they've they've done a great job in kind of like bringing the Spectre kind of regulars into this as well. And it's also like the only Bond film where they have a returning Bond girl, as far as I'm aware, anyway. As far as I'm aware.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Sylvia Trent at the start of the film. Yeah, that's the first time we had a recurring Bond girl. But like, actually, you know, yeah, and you know, you have that pre-opening title sequence. Of course, you got the gun barrel again, which you have it properly though this time, unlike the last one where it was kind of like that. You had that weird music at the start, but yeah, but like the you know the pre-opening title.
Still Bob Simmons jumping.
Yeah, but I mean the pre-opening title sequence is great, like with Bond, and you know he has that mask over him, and well we don't know it's not Bond, but
It's
like
not
we
Bond,
think,
is it? I should have fucking known that.
yeah, but I mean Red Grant, you know he kills Bond, and you know played by Robert Shaw, you know he's also in Jaws, you know dun 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 fucking eat it, yeah, I mean yeah, I mean you know Grant's great,
Rosie Slab.
yeah, Rosa Klebb. Like, also what I really like about From Russia with Love is we see a lot more of Spectre as an organization. Like, I mean, like it was kind of hinted at the first film. You didn't really see them. It was more just Doctor No, but like, it was only
Doctor
like briefly
Yes.
mentioned in Doctor No. But, um,
Doctor Yes.
yeah, yash. Uh, but I think like in From Russia with Love, like the way they develop on Spectre is a lot better. You know, we see Blofeld, we partially see him, like we see his hand and you know the cat, you know,
Yeah.
oh yes, I'll get you next time, catch it. You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
Also, one thing that from Rush with Love. I mean, I prefer Doctor No, but the one thing that From Rush with Love does do over Doctor No is actually give us a bit more variety in terms of locations. Because, I mean, we were kind of restricted in Doctor No to
the Jamaica, yeah,
Jamaica, underneath the mango tree, and in this one we get well Russia, we get a lot of the first time we go to Istanbul is actually here in this film, which is great. I don't think a lot of Bond fans who saw Skyfall knew that or remembered that when they were watching it.
yeah,
That the first time that they saw Istanbul in a Bond film was from Rush with Love, and obviously they revisit it in The World Is Not Enough very
yeah.
briefly. Yeah, it's nice to see some really wide locations in this film. I mean, but I think we can both agree on the biggest issue here, and that's well, Tanya.
Yeah, Tanya's not a great Bond girl. I mean, she's not terrible, but she's not great either. I mean, I just think
Well,
as
it's
a
great.
Bond, yeah, but as a Bond girl, she's just there. Like she falls in love with Bond. I mean, I just think Tanya, to be honest, she's a bit, I don't know, a bit silly. Well, not silly, but I mean, she's just a bit, I don't know, just a bit stupid, just a bit too gullible in some ways. Like she isn't completely stupid, but yeah, yeah, naive. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the pacing is a little bit of an issue. But you know, I mean,
That
yeah, but I mean, Rosa Klebb is great. Actually, I was gonna say, like you know that guy with the mustache, like Bond's friend in the film, is his Istanbulian friend. I forget his name at this point in time, but he kind of reminds me of Mathis in Casino Royale a little bit. Like,
Give
yeah,
Vesper, forgive
yeah.
her, forgive yourself.
Whisper, whisper.
Want to whisper? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, but from Russia, I think we should stop with the puns now. I think from
Well,
Russia,
Bond.
with yeah. But I think From Russia with Love is it's just a great Bond film. Bond gets more to do. Like the Lecter plot is, it's okay, it's passable.
Like to plot. I think you mean the Spectre plot.
Yeah, yeah. The Spectre Lecter plot. Yeah.
Spectre.
No, I mean the Lecter device. Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that that whole like thing about getting the device and bringing it back. It's not the best plot in the world, but
It's
it
all right.
yeah, it's passable. I do like the whole like I mean, we're introduced to Q here, Desmond Llewellyn, God rest his soul. He's great here. In his first introduction, of course, we don't get to see his workshop to the next film.
What a
Ha ha
shame they didn't
ha.
get Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, and Q here is great. I love that briefcase he gives him. It's really cool. Like this.
Actually, the first time we see Q, but he's actually called. He's credited as Bythroid, I think, in this. He's not actually called Q until
Yeah,
Gold
Major Boothroyd. Yeah.
Boothroyd.
Yeah, and yeah, he's great here. Like for the small scene he has, like, I mean, we don't see his workshop to the next one, and it is his first appearance. And he gives Bond the gadget, and he gives him the rifle, and the tear gas, briefcase, and the gold coins and all that. And I mean, you're talking about you mentioned briefly like the train fight earlier. That fight's pretty good. I mean, it's in a confined space, so you're not going to get the biggest like badass fight, but it's a pretty good fight. It's actually a really good fight. It's enjoyable. The villain's Red Grant's good. Robert Shaw plays him well. Rosa Kleb's great. She's kind of like I think it's hinted towards that she's lesbian. Like I
Yeah,
think she
I mean, she says to Tanya, "Oh, you're a good-looking girl."
yeah, and she kind of like touches her leg. I think like touches her shirt, or like she was kind of touching her shoulder, or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting at the end. The spike shoe. Of course, they would reference that in later films of Die Another Day. But uh, I don't know. I mean, I just think From Russia with Love is a great like spy thriller, great espionage thriller. Uh,
As a Bond film, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's solid. And I think it's a pretty good Bond film. But yeah, like I said, like, I understand why people put it high up, but for me, it's just not. It's not up there, but it's definitely,
In terms
I
of
def
the Sean Connery films, I'd probably rank it like what, third? I, I'd
yeah, I agree.
I'd
Yeah,
probably put it third. I mean, that's uh, that's purely because I think that Goldfinger, well, is a masterpiece, and Doctor No has a slight edge over it because it's the first one, and I don't know, I just find Doctor No a little bit more engaging.
for more. Roger wants more.
Roger always wants more. Anyway, let's move on to but let's kind of just briefly touch on the last few. I mean, with
Yeah,
Connery's era, it's a shame the way it turned out because he was the first Bond and it had potential. Like his half of his era is good or great, even ranges from good to amazing, and the rest
yeah,
of his era is just like, well, all right to crap. Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I don't know what happened with Thunderball, but I mean, I respect Alan Kalo's opinion, but for me, I can't hack it. It's too slow. It's too slow for me.
I agree. Yeah. I
Out of all the
mean,
Bond films, it's the slowest Bond film.
yeah, yeah, it is. And I also like. I mean, before we move on to this, I think we should maybe touch briefly on Goldfinger. I mean, we do. I think we do have to, talk about it briefly. I mean, I did rewatch it, today, and I just, going into it, I was thinking, well, when I was watching, I was thinking. maybe this isn't as good as I thought it was, but by the end of it, I was like, wow, masterpiece. This is as good as I thought it was, if not better. I
It's
mean,
by far the best Connery film.
yeah, I mean, I just think Goldfinger, like you said, it's a masterpiece. I mean, Guy Hamilton came in, fresh, completely new to the Bond franchise, and this
He's a
is where
good.
they really perfected the formula. This is just classic Bond. It's the first film really to, I think in a way it's kind of the first proper Bond film. I mean, well, I'm not saying Doctor No and For Much Love
Yeah, no,
aren't.
I think it's the first film. Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, apart from Connery slapping the woman's ass, it's the first Bond film that really got people into Bond. Like, not that the first one was bad, but no, but people thought, okay, that they're pretty good films. They're entertaining. But by the time we got to Goldfinger, it was the one that immersed everyone into kind of the world of James Bond. It showed like the potential that this franchise had and this character and these stories could have. It just showcased so much more than the first two, and it had a great story as well and a great villain, and Connery was awesome as well. It was his third film, and they upped their game. I mean, a different director I think helped. I think if Terrence Young stayed, we probably wouldn't be where we are now. Not that Terrence Young was a bad director, but just the fact that he probably would have got tired and would have ran out of ideas by his third one. I mean, look how Thunderball turned out. But yeah, I mean, I actually think without Guy Hamilton, we wouldn't be at this point, at Spectre, the film. So we're really lucky actually that Goldfinger
Yeah,
was great as it was. It was probably the best film of the '60s as well, or the one that got the most acclaim, I think.
yeah. And saying that, I mean, I think in a way. Well, actually, I think Sam Mendes is kind of like the spiritual successor to Guy Hamilton in the fact that he came in with Skyfall, the third film in the Craig era, which we'll get onto later, and he revitalized that in a way. But I mean, I absolutely agree. I mean, Goldfinger, I think, yeah, it was the first Bond film to really immerse the audience and immerse a lot more people into the world of Bond. I mean, everything about this film is just so great. I mean, it's like a perfect milkshake. I mean, it's not like there's too much of anything in this film. I mean,
And
you
Mr.
know,
Chicken sends my boys to the yard.
yeah, and Connery. I have to say, Connery here, he was great in the last two. He was really great, but here, he's just so, you know, um, he's just fit into the role so well, and he gives his best performance. Like you can really tell, he's just enjoying his time being Bond. He's just really enjoying. He's just having a ball.
Yeah, I think also that it's the best paced out of all of the Connery films. I mean, the later Connery films have a major problem with pacing, and I think that Connery, this film with Connery, is the one that is paced the best, and it just flies by. I mean, it's 1 hour 50 minutes, and it just flies by. So much happens. I mean, you know, we've got to talk about the villains who they're up there. I mean, Goldfinger and Oddjob, they could
Yeah.
be the best villains of the series.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, Gert Frobe as Auric Goldfinger. He's just a fantastic villain. He's a smug, arrogant prick, and he just doesn't care. And that's what's so great about his character is
He's a
that
money grabbing bastard, and he's a fuck sucking whore.
and he's also really he's quite like repulsive as well. He's quite disgusting in the fact that he's just so
Like a fucking
um
pussy.
yeah, yeah, he's just kind of like like he's kind of like repulsive in his greediness with the gold and like he's just like he lives a life of excess and you know I think Goldfinger himself as a villain, Gertrude just plays him fantastically. He's really threatening. Obviously that iconic scene. He's like, Goldfinger, do you expect me to talk? No, Mister Bond, I expect you to die. And
And also the golf scene as well. That was quite funny.
yeah, yeah, the golf scene. Yeah, I was like, I mean, watching this earlier today, it was just, I mean, going back to it, I mean, this film is nearly, it is, it's over 50 years old and it's still fresh. I mean, amazingly, it is still so fresh. And, watching it is just like fantastic. And, Goldfinger, is great, and the henchman as well. We can't forget. Odd Job is just probably one of the best, if not the best, henchman of the
I,
series. It's
I
just
think he actually might be the best.
yeah. I mean, he's just so great in that role. He's completely silent. He doesn't say a word. And you have that great scene, where he gets a golf ball and he crushes it and into sand, and that's great. And also, when he takes off his hat and he cuts the statue's head off, and on that final, yeah, and we really see how much of a, you know like, we really see like how strong this guy is. Like at the end when he's fighting Connery, Connery's throwing fucking bars of gold at him, and he's just taking it. He's just taking it like a man, and you know, um, it's
I mean,
just
if you thought Daniel Craig was beefy, you might want to reconsider that. Go back and look at Goldfinger's henchman, Oddjob. Well, actually, I'd love to see Oddjob get in a fight with Mr. Hinks from Spectre,
yeah.
Dave Batista. I wonder who would win. That would be an interesting fight. If we ever had like a Bond fan fiction, I'm sure that would crop up somewhere. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
No, 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 no. It's no problem. I mean, also, I mean, we can't forget the Bond girls. Pussy Galore. She's a great Bond girl. Honor Blackman. I mean, considering her age, I mean, she's still pretty fit. I mean, she was in, I think she was in her early 40s, and considering her age, she did a damn good job. And it's kind of interesting the way that it's kind of hinted at that she's lesbian as well, and Bond kind of seduces her. It's not terribly PC, but
I mean, she says, "Oh, you can turn off the charm. I'm immune."
yeah, I mean exactly. And
I think she's bisexual.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think she's bi. Yeah, I mean, I really
Because she kind of just gives in to Bond's, you know, force of well,
will
uh, yeah, force of will.
force of his force of his
Yeah.
down there.
Well, I suppose but yeah. Also, the music is fantastic. It's the first. I mean, the music in the first two were great, but I think this one raises the bar. John Barry did a superb job with the score.
Literally the gold bar.
Lol. Yeah. And also, the song by Shirley Bassey is probably one of the best Bond songs of all time. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I do really like it, and it's awesome. I mean, the cover is just creepy, but um, um, it's a classic Bond song, and it was kind of like the first major Bond song. I mean, because the Matt Monro song from Russia with Love wasn't in the opening titles of that film; it was on the end.
It's the shame that was only at the end. Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice song, but I don't think it was a classic. I mean, this is the first kind of classic Bond theme, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
and it has that great sort of tune, like Goldfinger, he's the man with the Midas touch, a spider's touch, and the
The
lyrics.
charcoal finger.
Fucking you has never been so like gold.
For rags to riches.
Lol. Also, one scene I think we should mention is just one of the most classic scenes of cinema is when we see Jill Masterton painted in gold.
Yeah, that's a classic scene because, of course, before that, we see Bond gets knocked out by Oddjob, we have the shot of Oddjob, which is another classic moment. And yeah, I mean that scene, they did, they did. I wouldn't say homage, but they did kind of rip it off in Quantum of Solace. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, here it's just so amazing because you can tell. I mean, when I was rewatching it, you can tell that Connery, like his Bond is quite distraught by it. He's quite you know.
That's what you get for sticking your dick in one too many places.
Oh yes, don't stick your nose anywhere else. I mean, that scene is so great, and also like the way that it's shot is so brilliant, and like
Ooh.
And yeah, also like you were saying, like the song, it's probably the first classic Bond song, and probably the first classic title sequence as well. I mean, a
Yeah,
title sequence is just so great. I mean, unlike from Much of Love, where you couldn't really see anything, I mean, here they project the images of the film onto the golden girl, and it's just such a great title sequence. Just the way it's just
I mean,
shot. And
Doc, I think comparing the first three title sequences, Doctor No's one was really random. I mean, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was really random because it kept changing all the time. Like the music kept changing, and then the things in the sequence kept changing. Like then you had the three blind mice, and it was like it was kind of like what was going on.
Hmm.
But then from Russia of Love, it was a mess. It was just the belly dancers and you couldn't see the texts. But this is awesome. This is just pure class, and it sets up the first of well, I think many, well, the first of quite a lot of great title sequences to come. But
yeah,
yeah, like I said, it raised the bar.
yeah, the gold bar. Yeah.
I think just like the plot is much more well thought out this time as well.
Yeah, like I was gonna plot of this is just fantastic. I mean, it is definitely one of the best Bond plots, if not the best Bond plot of the entire series. It's just such a great, the way he's smuggling in this gold in his cars, melting it down, and the Operation uh, Grand Slam. It's just
Yeah,
so brilliant. And the way Goldfinger explains it, you see I mean, I have to
yeah,
say as well, like the sets, like you can really tell they really upped the budget in this. Like the sets are fantastic. Like the way, like you see all these things revolve. Like you see you see the big operation tables, and that final fight at Fort Knox as well is brilliant. And like, and also like the yeah, just like the plot, the fact that Bond thinks he's got, he's storing all this gold and he's building up his gold reserve, and Bond thinks he's going to take the gold from Fort Knox, but he just plans to irradiate it, and he
yeah.
plans, and he's in work, he's with the Koreans to create global. To basically create economic unrest in the West by setting off this nuclear bomb inside Fort Knox. It's just a genius plot, really is. Yeah.
And I just want to quickly say one thing, kind of in relation to the film, but not about the film. With the 007 Legends video game, which they released 3 years ago for the release of Skyfall, they had like two missions from Goldfinger on 2 levels from Goldfinger on there, but it was like modernized. It was modernized,
Yeah.
and they had like some really bad voice actor doing an impression of Daniel Craig. Yeah, so it was like Daniel Craig and Goldfinger, and it just didn't work. Like,
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
just doesn't work. Yeah.
but that's the thing with this film. It's a pure Connery Bond film. It is. If it's Connery's
Yeah.
ultimate Bond film. I mean, if you had to pick one Bond film out of Connery's era to keep, it would be this one by far. I mean, the other ones don't come close to this. I mean, not all of his films are bad, but
No, I do think that they are on the same level as this. Yeah.
I mean, the first three Connery Bond movies, you could see it. It's like, well, like the Connery trilogy. Like it's a nice little trilogy. It's a nice set. And then I mean, it's a shame. It's just a shame that the quality went a little bit downhill. But as for Goldfinger, it's literally a flawless masterpiece. You can't really knock it. I mean, um,
The flawless diamond. But that would be later. Diamonds are forever.
if there was any complaint about it, uh, uh,
No
uh
complaints. Next.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I also like the opening sequence as well, and shocking, positively shocking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great. Like, I mean, it has no relation to do with the film, but just so great. Like the way he sneaks into that Mexican drug dealer's warehouse and he blows it up. Yeah, and also Connery the White Tux. I think this is the first introduction of the White Tux. It's fucking awesome. I mean, it is so cool to see that White
I'm, I'm
Tux.
I'm excited to see it in the new film with Daniel Craig, Spectre. Yeah.
Yeah, and Spectre.
Also,
Oh
I
man.
watched a clip of going a little bit off subject. I watched a clip of Spectre with Daniel Craig and Dave Bautista fighting on a train. It looks awesome. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it reminds me of Jaws and Odd Job, yeah. I mean,
yeah, and also
oh,
the way he like, holds his head, like he's trying to crush his head. It kind of reminds me of like some of the old fight scenes in like the Maul era when Jaws was holding Bond's head, like
yeah.
squeezing it tightly, and same with like a few of the others. But anyway, we probably should move on from Goldfinger. I think we should talk about
Yeah.
the last three, but just briefly, like briefly.
Yeah, I mean, to wrap up on Goldfinger, it's a great Bond film. They perfected the formula, so many iconic scenes. It's Connery's best by far. Guy Hamilton, genius, comes in, he makes Bond fresh. He brings in the Bond formula, and yeah, what else is there to say? Let's go.
He just mixed it. He mixed it in the bowl, and he just served it on a
The
nice.
perfect souffle.
Oh god, souffle girl. Anyway, so yeah, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, and Diamonds Are Forever. This is unfortunately where it all goes a bit downhill.
Wah, wah, wow.
Yeah. I mean, considering that Thunderball had Terrence Young return to direct, it was piss poor. I mean, what the fuck happened? I mean, I'm not going to lie. On a technical standpoint, the film is constructed really well, and it does look awesome. It looks visually quite stunning for the time, but the film just drags. I mean, oh my god, drags like nobody's business. I mean, I hope to God that Spectre doesn't drag. I mean, Skyfall is a film that's longer than Thunderball, but it doesn't feel like it. Skyfall is
Yeah.
2 hours 20 minutes, but it feels like nothing. This is 2 hours 10 minutes, and it feels like 3 hours. This is terribly paced. It's one of the worst paced films I've ever watched. I can't even get past the first half an hour. Oh,
Yeah. I mean, when you come to the next three, I mean, I think just to wrap up on the first three, I think that was kind of Connery's highlight of his Bond films. But
the
then we
golden
get,
age, lol.
to Thunderball, and I know there are people out there who like it. Like I know Alan Kalo
Fair enough.
likes it, and fair enough. Opinions are opinions, but Thunderball is the first Bond film just to really disappoint. I mean, it's just a film. I mean, like you said, I mean, on a technical standpoint, it's a well-made film. It is a well-made film. The way they direct the scenes, and it is very well directed, and the cinematography is nice, and color, stylistically, in terms of colors and locations, it is a very well-constructed Bond film. But the problem with it is just the pace. The pacing is just so it's just so slow, like you say. I mean,
And
that
also, it doesn't help. The story is not very good. The story is not compelling enough, and it doesn't help that Connery is a bit lifeless in this film. He's got to his
yeah,
fourth one, and he's like, "Yeah, yeah." He's just going through the motions. I mean, not as much as the fifth movie, You Only Live Twice, but in this film, he's kind of gives a so-so performance. Like you said in your review, he's kind of like some of the scenes he's quite good, and some of the scenes he's but like, nah, he just kind of gives up. Really, I think there was a lot of artistic merit taken here, but I think it literally feels like the rough cut of the film.
it
Like
just falls. Yeah, exactly. It just kind of
it
falls
feels
flat on
like
its
they didn't
face.
have time to edit it down, and they literally just left. They didn't cut any of the deleted scenes out. They just left it all in there and just shoved it out in the cinema.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it feels like a director's cut. I mean, I think the problem with Thunderball as well is just as a Bond film, like, it kind of feels like a Bond film before Goldfinger. That's my main problem. It's like, they totally forgot about Goldfinger. This feels like a Bond film right before Goldfinger. I mean, we're back with Spectre now, which is, that's fine, but it just feels like more like of a continuation of From Russia with Love than like a sequel to Goldfinger. And that's my main problem is that Terrence Young, he'd already directed the first two Bond films and then he came back here and it just feels like he tired out and he kind of, he just let the ball slip with this one. I mean, yeah, he let all the balls slip. Yeah,
So it does the name Thunderball. It's like the national lottery, and it's kind of feeling like Yeah, let's cash in on the monthly.
Thunderball numbers 4, 7, 8,
Yeah,
9.
yeah. Thunderball is like it's like the name for the National Lottery, and it's like they're just trying to like say, oh yeah, we're gonna cash in on this Bond film. We're not gonna give a shit, but we'll cash it in because we know that people love Goldfinger. I mean, it's not that bad, but I'm just saying it just kind of reminds me of that because of the name. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing I do love about Thunderball is actually the Tom Jones song. I know you're not a big fan of it, but I actually really like it. I mean, despite the fact the lyrics are a bit off, but I think the tune is excellent and it's just so dramatic. And I mean, the title sequence is a bit lifeless, but I think the song is
It's not
really.
unusual to feel in love with anyone.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's all right. I mean, I don't think it's my favorite. It's not my favorite Bond theme, but it is up there with it for me. I really like it. I think it's underrated. It doesn't really get talked about very much. It's the Bond theme that gets talked about the least, and I think it deserves a little bit more attention. But that's just me. I mean, you know, the da 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 da,
Yeah.
and he
Um,
strikes like thunderball.
yeah. I mean, I think what also makes Thunderball like a lot worse than the first three is that it just a lot of elements in there. You're just like, come on, really? Like, there's just a lot of cheap gimmicks in Thunderball. Like the pre-opening tile sequence, it's the worst of the series. I mean, it's
Mm.
just so bad. I mean, maybe not the worst. I mean, maybe it give that to Die Another Day, but it's definitely one of the worst. It's just,
At least
it's
the
just,
Die Another Day sequence didn't have the jetpack. I mean, I hate Die Another Day, but the opening I could tolerate the opening for that film. Apart from the gun
I
barrel.
can't even tolerate it. But fair enough. But
I mean, it's up there with like the worst openings. I mean, like along with Yoli Twice, uh, Tomorrow Never Dies, The World's Not Enough. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's probably is the worst. It's just the idea of the jetpack. I mean, it's like I know it's a James Bond film, but oh, for fuck's sake, that's just going too far. You know, like
yeah.
can you picture like if it was a Daniel Craig film? Picture Daniel Craig on the jetpack, his face as well, him pouting like
You and I had a mutual friend.
yeah, yeah, come fly with me. Let's fly away.
Yeah.
And then for me, the opening sequence ends really abruptly as well. It's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it like, as soon as they spray the water or foam or whatever it is out of the car,
Stupid.
then
Yeah.
it goes straight to the title
God.
sequence. It's edited poorly, I have to say. The film,
Yeah,
well,
I have to say, yeah, the editing is just so poor in this film. Really poor. It's like you said, it feels like a director's cut. Like there must have been points in this where they felt, come on, over 2 hours. This is a bit excessive.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do like some of Bond's one-liners, like "Oh, I've come to offer my sincere condolences." Like, I quite like that, but I mean, the script is also piss poor as well. Like, there's too many characters, and there's too many than the film knows how to deal with. Like, it's a mess. Like, it's a mess. Like, there's just too many people in this film, and not all of them get developed. Like Paula, and I think Paula dies as well. Like, she gets 2 minutes of screen time, then she dies.
Yeah.
You know. Fiona's a great villain though. She's a great villainess.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Domino. I quite like Domino.
It's
She's
a
all
Honey
right.
Rider rip-off, but she's sexy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, slightly. But you know, she's more tolerable than Waylin
Waylin.
or Jinx and Miranda Frost.
I think Mr.
Um,
Hinks is married to Jinx.
God, yeah, Jinx and Hinks, or like somewhere in there is actually Hinks is like Jinx and Brosnan's love child. Imagine that. Oh,
We need to do a sketch about that.
yeah, yeah, we'll do that at some point. Yeah, could do that for my Spectre sketch. Anyway, Thunderball, Largo as well. Oh, Largo's a crap villain.
Oh God. Arr, I'm a pirate.
Oh,
Yar.
I'm a pirate. I wear an eye patch, and my name's Largo. The final
James
fight.
Bond meets Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh god, the final fight is also kind of embarrassing as well. Just the sped up editing just doesn't do the scene
Like a
any
Mickey
favors.
Mouse. It looks like a Roadrunner cartoon.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically kind of cap in on Thunderball. Yes, Thunderball numbers 4, 5, 9, 8. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
your lottery number. Yeah, I mean,
I
just to
don't,
add my. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go on, go on.
Um, just to add in my thoughts on Thunderball. It's just like you say. I mean, it's just a very messy Bond film. It's just a big disappointment after Goldfinger, and it feels like a Bond film pre-Goldfinger, like before Goldfinger, and like that like you said, that pre-opening title sequence is just absolute crap. It's just so stupid. Like the whole, I mean, the way it deceives the audience, like JB in the coffin. It's like, yeah, you did that. You already did that before. For fuck's sake, stop doing it again. Fuck me. It's just so
Well,
dumb.
if you insist, I will fuck you if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so dumb. It's just so dumb. And the whole widow, like the guy in drag, oh, it's just so embarrassing. And that whole jetpack, it's just fucking hilarious. I mean, you're right. I mean, could you imagine Dalton or Craig on a fucking jetpack?
It's
It's
like,
just like absolutely
oh,
absurd. And like, how did it get on the roof? It's just so conveniently placed.
did he know he was going to be chased out of the building?
But, yeah, I mean, and also the way it cuts, like you have the
You know what?
Aston Martin.
They may as well have done a whole live and let die thing and just kill Bond off and then go like, whose funeral is it? Yours. Da 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 da.
Yeah, I mean, and the way they cut it, like you said, is just so stupid. I mean, the Aston Martin's here, but it does nothing throughout the entire film. It does nothing. I
That's the
mean,
thing. They completely squandered the car. They made it like this cheap kind of gag in that it could. Oh, look at this car! It can shoot things out of it. They made it like a toy. You are a toy. That's what it was like. It's like they made it a toy.
you're a boy toy.
Oh god, but not as much as the next film does in terms of gadgets. I mean, I can't even remember the gadgets in this film. Like the Q scene to me wasn't really that good in this
Yeah,
film.
he was like fishing or something. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
I
Yeah,
mean they do that again in Octopussy, but yeah, at least that was a bit better there. I mean, I
yeah,
think Thunderball's one of the most overrated Bond films. I mean,
I agree.
I respect why people like it, but for me, how can you sit through a film that's that slow? I mean,
Yeah.
it is way too long as well. Like it's over 2 hours long. It's like 2 hours 10 minutes, I think.
And up to that point, all the Bond films have been like an hour and 45. It's like, what possessed you to add in another, 20 minutes, this boring fucking movie, Like,
Yeah,
it should have been at least an hour and 45. Then it would have been, at least tolerable to watch. But,
yeah. I mean, it's incoherent as well. It's just
yeah.
incoherent. I mean, there's
Yeah. I mean,
stories supposed to hang together.
it's the first kind of really messy Bond film where you're just like, I mean, the plot, like you said, it's just crap. It's just boring. It's like, yeah, we're gonna take these two nuclear missiles. We're gonna hold, ransom. Blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, we don't care. I mean, Connery, like you said. I mean, this is where Connery's first performance where it starts to dip. It's like, his performance here is just kind of like, yeah, it's just kind of like,
It's all right. I mean, it's kind of passable, but not really that
yeah,
good.
it's just so like, like some scenes he's good, some scenes he's crap. I mean, it's not his worst performance, but it's like this is where
It's down there.
Starting. This is where you see Connery starting to get bored of the part and bored of the role.
Like,
Um,
they're not going to try and make the movie. Why should I?
Yeah, and also like Largo is just he's just absolute crap. I mean, there's nothing to him. He's got this stupid eye patch for no reason. May as well get Captain Hook. Peter Pan.
Like, Like, you may as well have the crocodile in there as well.
Yeah, Return to Neverland with fucking Largo.
Although in Return to Neverland, they didn't have the crocodile; they had the octopus, which was a bit weird.
Octopussy. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, God, it's just a mess. And for me, this is going to sound controversial, but for me, it's the my least favorite of Connery's era. I'm sorry, but
yeah,
it's the one that I can't watch. I mean, of all the Bond films, I mean, even the Brosnan ones, I can, if I put them on, I could actually sit through them for 2 hours. I wouldn't enjoy them, but I could at least, they would at least move by
well, I
quicker.
can't sit through Die Another Day. That's incredibly slow.
No, yeah, I can't sit through that one either. Die Another Day and Thunderball, the only ones that I just can't sit through them because they're just too slow. I mean, Thunderball, I gave it like a 3 out of 10 in my review. That's quite generous actually. I mean, mainly because the Tom Jones song I really like, and the cinematography and visual effects are great. Also, the underwater fighting is just way too slow. I mean, I like the idea, but couldn't they have just sped that up in editing rather than speed up the Largo and Bond fight at the end? Speed up the whole underwater fighting, and the fact that they had the music, the dun 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 dun, dun and then you have like
Yeah.
somebody trying to throw a punch, and it takes like more than 10 seconds for them to actually hit somebody. It just doesn't work. It just looks like a load of people tugging over nothing. Like,
Yeah, it's like they're playing all this like fast-paced music, and you know, it's like this scene is just so slow and boring. It's like, why are you? This is making the scene worse playing this fast-paced music.
gosh,
Yeah. I mean, like,
yeah,
also, it's just a sloppy mess. It's just really, you have Largo, like we said, it's just like he's just such a cardboard cutout villain. After Goldfinger's such a great, Bond villain, you get this, pathetic excuse for a fucking Bond villain, and I mean, the only like kind of saving grace of this film is Fiona Volpe. That's the only good thing in the fucking movie. The rest of it can just go
yeah.
to hell. I mean, you
Well, I
know,
suppose the MI6 regulars, they're
yeah,
good. They're good. I mean, like Q and Moneypenny and M, they're good. I'll give them the pass.
yeah. I mean, Domino, Claudine Hawkins, she is attractive, but just as a Bond girl, Domino, she's just kind of like Honey Rider, like, oh, like my father was killed, oh, my brother was
I
killed.
I blame the script for that though. I think I blame the script. I mean,
Yeah, I blame the script,
I
but
think her acting is decent, decent enough anyway. Um, but yeah, I mean, also some of the one-liners as well. I mean, while some work, some don't. Like, I think he got the point. It's just
yeah.
like,
Oh,
oh, really?
God.
I think you got the point. It's just like he says it so fast that you don't really have time to kind of like,
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's also kind of says it kind of lazily, like you didn't care, like, oh, I think he got the point. Oh, God, I mean,
or rather rather say comic effect like Halle Berry does. Like, I think he got the point. But like,
yeah.
I got the thrust of it.
God. Oh God.
I think for me, the only things that saved the movie were well, sort of Connery as Bond, the MI6 regulars, the visual look of the film, and the Tom Jones song. Apart from that, nothing. It doesn't do it for me. The only they're the only saving parts of the film for me.
I mean, even thinking about this film is pissing me off. Like you said, just from start to finish, complete mess. Like the only good things are like the title sequence. I really like the title sequence. That visually is quite stunning. I really like that. The Tom Jones song I think is passable. Connery's so, Domino's not great, Largo's isn't great, and like you said, like the ending so anticlimactic. That final fight is just fucking laughable. She just
Yeah.
shoots him in the back and then he
Well,
falls
to be
over.
fair, the Tom Barry score as well is good. Well, it's not
Yeah,
his best, but it's not. It's okay. But it's not his best. I mean, it's
yeah.
not really his fault, I suppose. I mean, the film was so boring that I don't know how you could score something that boring. So
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, the underwater side. I'm sorry, not underwater side. The underwater fights are just so painfully slow, just so
Oh,
slow. And they're playing that fast-paced music. I, I mean, I agree. I'm gonna have to agree with you here. It is definitely, I'd say, it is definitely the weakest by far of the Connery era. I mean. And it's funny because after the best film of the Connery era, you get the worst film of the Connery era.
oh God.
I know this is gonna be a bit hard for Alan to listen to, but fuck it, Thunderball. I'm sorry, Alan, but it's the worst.
Yeah,
It's the
sorry,
worst of the
Alan.
Connery
I
era.
mean, I completely respect Alan's opinion, but
Yeah, same. Yeah,
for me, then again, he hates A View to a Kill, so fair enough.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then again, it's just like maybe if Guy Hamilton had stayed to direct. Anyway, let's move on. Let's
yeah. I was
move on
gonna
to
say that. Let's move on. Yeah.
You Only Live Twice. Well, or do you?
Yeah. Well, this film, to be honest, it's a step up over Thunderball. I mean, it's not saying a hell of a lot, but it's a step up. I mean,
Yeah,
this film, I can watch it and be like,
yeah,
it was all right.
yeah. Bit of fun.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, um, Connery in this film is
Oh,
just absolutely terrible. I mean,
one of the worst performances from a Bond actor, really. Well, on par with Brosnan in Die Another Day.
well, I wouldn't say it's that bad, but yeah, I mean,
He's just a bit lifeless. Like,
yeah, I mean, I can understand like Connery. He did make five consecutive Bond films in 5 years, and
oh
uh,
my!
but he did have a year break, and I understand like he wanted to film on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and he hated the press and stuff, but there wasn't really an excuse to give a bad performance here. I mean, Connery's just completely, like you said, he's completely lifeless.
Yeah,
He looks so bored in the role. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. I mean, particularly that scene where he's in Little Nelly. I mean, speaking of Little Nelly, oh God,
the
like,
gadgets. I think this is the first film when I kind of thought this is silly. What the fuck is going on? Like the gadgets are ridiculous. Like I mean, the little Nelly is. I'm sorry, but it's just terrible. But
yeah,
I
like
mean,
Tanaka said in the film, it's a toy helicopter.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
people criticize the Roger Moore era for being silly. Well, I would respectfully ask you lot to go back and
Like,
watch the last few Connery films.
this is where the camp started. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just here. I mean, it's just really bad. Like, and also like, Japanese Connery.
Yeah. Fucking racist.
God, yeah. I mean, it just looks so bad. The
He doesn't.
makeup.
He doesn't even look Japanese. All they've done is they've given him a new hairstyle, like,
Yeah.
and they've given him a facelift, but that's about it.
Oh God.
Literally, what did it do? Like, what were the makeup team thinking? Like, oh, it's set in Japan. Why don't we make Bond dress Japanese to disguise himself? He's in the middle of this kind of like training facility. Nobody is going to notice him. So why the fuck does he need to dress Japanese? Why does he need to, change his face? And it's just such
And the way
filler.
they make it out, it's just like they pretend it's like this delicate operation, you
And
know.
why does Bond have to get married?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, people say Other Magic Secret Service is where Bond first got married. Well, he first got married here.
Yeah, the film beforehand. And so does that make Bond a bit of a bigamist then when it comes to the next film? Well, I guess new Bond, new rules. Lazenby was a different man to Connery.
Bond's new clothes.
Yeah. Oh,
God.
regenerated. Yep.
Yeah. He's generated. Whoa! I got
Oh,
legs. Yeah. I'm
it
not
looks
a
like
girl.
crap.
Oh wait, I am a girl. Yeah.
Oh no, it's all gold. It looks like the brandy.
God, like, I mean, yeah, it's like Bond's a bigamist. Yeah, he's a Mormon as well.
Oh god.
I mean, you
Mm.
know, it's just, I mean, like Thunderball, it's a very mixed bag. You know, there are a lot of good things in there and a lot of bad things in there. I mean, one of the main issues I have is there's a lot of establishing shots in this film. You know, a lot of shots of Japan. It's like, you know, while Japan is a nice location and it's great to go there for the first time, it's like, come on, really? Do we really need these, you know, establishing shots? You know, it's just like, come on, you know. Oh, God. You there? Right. Sorry. Yeah, but I mean, you only live twice. You only live twice. You only live twice is just it's just a mess. I mean, from start to finish. I mean, there are good things in there, and there are bad things in there. I mean, unlike Thunderball, what's good about it is the pace is much better. The pacing, um, is much better than uh the last film, and you know, I mean, Connery, like I said, he's just so lifeless here. I mean, the plot itself, like the pre-opening title sequence, is just absolutely fucking stupid. You know, Bond gets shot, and then you know he dies, and it's like, just well done. You know, killing off Connery again. You know, it's like, you know, we had this. Oh my, just fucking eat it! I mean,
You talk about Japanese Connery.
oh God, yeah, yeah. I was saying as well, you know, the pre-opening title sequence is absolute crap. You know, it's just like we're doing the same thing again. We're killing off Bond, where it's like we know he's not gonna die.
It's only the 5th film in the series, and it's actually the 3rd time that it's happened since the series has begun. So it's
just let it happen.
I mean, I don't know. You Only Live Twice is a Bond film that kind of infuriates me. But there are some merits to it. I mean, more than Thunderball. I mean, I used to kind of hate this more than I should have done, and I'm sorry about that. Lewis Gilbert does a competent job, but not really well. Not really in terms of the storytelling. I mean, you know, they make the film look really nice, and it is shot with that kind of documentary kind of feel. You know, like showing you the kind of the culture of Japan, and you know, Bond kind of accustoming to that. For me, there is a lack of plot in the middle section of the film. The film moves along like first half an hour, and then it kind of goes into this kind of stationary setting, like where nothing much happens, and then Bond is just hanging around in Japan for ages. Although I have to say,
around.
yeah, the production design is immense, and it is fantastic. I mean, that volcano set is just glorious. I mean, Ken Adam, you know, deserves an Oscar for that.
Fucking genius.
For me, there are just so many things here that just don't work. I mean, the Bond girls are crap. I mean, Aki and Kissy, or whatever their names are, to me, they're both one and the same. I can't tell one from the other. I can't even remember which one was the one that died. I think it was, I think it might have been Aki. I can't remember. But yeah,
Kissy?
Yeah, they're just both really crap characters. Like, I have no idea, but they're just rubbish. And also, like, the ninjas, you know, come in at the end as well, which actually
got a license to kill.
Yeah, the ninjas in this film actually make sense, unlike a later Bond film, License to Kill, cough. But I mean, you know, this was meant to be Connery's exit. You know, it was meant to be his last one. I mean, he didn't want to. He walked out of the series after this because he had such a horrible time making it, and he had problems with the producers. Like he and Harry Saltzman had trouble getting on, and he was getting annoyed with press and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, the direction by Lewis Gilbert is okay. It romps along, but it doesn't really go anywhere. Also, Blofeld by Donald, you know, played by Donald Pleasance, is terrible. He looks great, but I think it's just he's so monotone He's so
He's
one.
wooden.
Yeah, he's wooden. Yeah, he displays no like. He displays himself as not as a threat, and Connery looks at him like, "Well, I'm fucking in this for the paycheck, mate." So if you're not going to deliver, then I'm not going to deliver.
Yeah, this is my second life.
You only live twice, Mr. Bond. Oh God. Speaking of which, the have you talked about the opening sequence?
Yeah, but you can talk about it.
No, it's alright. I'll just briefly say that it is crap. I mean, it's just they try and kill off Bond again. I mean, hence the title, "You Only Live Twice," which is kind of a shit title, really, to be honest. But oh well.
He only moved twice.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
Simpsons. Scorpio.
lol. I will say though, the title sequence and the song are really impressive. By the song by Nancy Sinatra, which is actually quite nice. It's quite calming and it's different, which is nice. I don't think it's not an Oscar-worthy song, but it is good. And the title sequence is really nice, as well, very colourful. Also, the screenplay was written by Roald Dahl as well, which is interesting. And for the most part, it's pretty solid. It's just that the acting is terrible, so it doesn't
Actually,
really fit.
actually, you were speaking of the title sequence. It's sung by Nancy Sinatra, who's actually the daughter of Frank Sinatra, and they originally approached him. I mean, it'd be funny if Frank Sinatra actually sang a Bond song. Could you imagine it? You only lived my way.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna
Yeah,
live twice, only live twice.
yeah. I mean, it's like I absolutely agree. I mean, the film I can enjoy. I do have fun with it, but there are still a lot of problems with it. I mean, like Thunderball, it does suffer in terms of, there is a lot of messy elements to it, but unlike Thunderball, it's a lot better paced. There is a lot more better things in it. Like you were saying, like the production design by Ken Adam is just absolutely stunning. Really, really good. I mean, the whole volcano layer itself is just absolutely fantastic. Really good. It's just, I mean, you have to, give your hat off to, Ken Adam, because I mean, the guy, he created so many iconic Bond sets, and this is probably his best set. I mean, one of his best sets. I mean, it's just so fantastic. I mean, talking about the some of the other good things, like the soundtrack isn't bad. Like the kind of Oriental feel, like the calming feel to it's
Oh
not bad.
yeah, yeah. I forgot to mention that the John Barry score is really the it does it kind of like it's one of it's actually quite a lovely score for a Bond film. You don't expect it to be like that. I mean, I do think that the film. This isn't a complaint I'd normally mention, but it does have a bit of a lack of action until the end. Like, I mean, they make up for it in the last kind of half an hour, but during the middle, there's like no action, um,
Yeah,
and it does get a bit slow during the middle. But yeah, I mean the film does zip along a little bit quicker than Thunderbolt. It is still slow, but I mean, it's better than Thunderbolt. So yeah,
yeah.
can't. For me, it's just kind of forgettable. It's not one that I rush back to, only if I'm watching all of the Connery films, which, well, given the way Thunderball is, I probably won't do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, um, it's okay. It's all right. It is a bit silly. It's ludicrous in places. It is absolutely bollocks in places. But at its heart, there is some nice elements to it. So I'm not. I'm going to give it a pass. I pass it off, but it's better than Thunderball. But for me, there are some stupid shit in this film which I can't ignore. So yeah, and Connery is part of the problem as well. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I have to agree with you there. I mean, this film overall, It's an okay film. It's passable. You know, I can enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's slightly forgettable, and there are messy elements to it which don't make it a great Bond film, but not a terrible one either.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I mean Connery himself as Bond is just completely crap. I mean, he's just so bored. You could tell he doesn't want to be there. He'd rather be doing something else. And you know, it doesn't help the fact that you know they make him up Japanese. They put him up in a Japanese outfit, and it's just completely bloody ridiculous. You know, I mean, like you said, it's bollocks. You know, I mean, you know, they make it look like this delicate operation. You know, oh, we're gonna make you. You know, we're gonna make you look Chinese. We're gonna make you look Asian. You know, Japanese, whatever. And you know, and then he's turned into this Japanese person, and you're just like. I mean, the makeup is just so ridiculous. I mean, it's like they put Connery in a Beatles wig or something. You know, it's just so bad, and you know the
No, what
makeup.
you may as well have just made Connery dress up as Elvis at the rate they were going. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, and also like you know, like marrying Bond off to Kissy, whatever. You know, come on, you know, really,
Like,
you know. I mean, Aki or Kissy, I don't know what it was, but anyway, you know, I mean.
then again, who would ever marry George Lazenby? Yeah, but there you go. We'll get on to Lazenby in a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, you only
I think
live
for the sake of
twice.
time, I think for the sake of time, we should probably just move on a bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're only really gonna focus on the Spectre ones, and you know, um, but just to quickly wrap up, you only live twice. You got this is where it just started to get really campy. You know, parts of it infuriate, infuriate. Damn, I can't say it. Um,
Infuriating.
yeah, and parts of it annoy me, and you know, and also like you
Oh,
know, the Spectre. I mean, Spectre in this, I like what they've done. They made them a lot more of a presence, which I do like. I do like the fact that they make them more of a presence, that their presence is felt a lot more than saying Thunderball. I mean, what was great about Thunderball though is that you know you saw more Blofeld and you had the Spectre meeting room, but still there wasn't huge focus on Spectre. What I like here is you know Spectre's a lot bigger as an organization. And this is the first
vigorous
time you know
battle.
you, yeah, I mean, this is the first time you fully see Blofeld on screen, and you know Blofeld here, you know he's crap. I mean Donald Pleasance, you know the look is good. I'll give you that, but I mean just you know Blofeld himself as a character, completely bland, completely monotone. Just like kind of his Blofeld kind of comes across as a bit wimpy as well, like you know, oh you know, oh you only live
I,
twice, Mister Bond.
the cat gets pissed off at him. Even the cat gets annoyed at him.
That's why it runs off. Yeah, I mean, you know, Blofeld here. To be honest, he was just kind of wasted. I mean, you know, you could have got a lot better actor to play Blofeld, but it was just kind of like it's kind of like they threw Blofeld away. I mean, it's nice to see Blofeld fully on screen, but they could have got a better actor to play.
A trash can.
Yeah, but they could have got a better actor to play Blofeld. But the rest of it, like the sets and all, they're fine. They're serviceable. They do their job. Well, no, I'm no actually sorry. The sets are fantastic. Actually, I was thinking of something else there. No, the sets are fantastic, great. But Spectre's great as an organization. But overall, the film's kind of messy. Connery gives his worst performance, but it's better than
Yeah,
Thunderball. It's enjoyable.
personally, for me,
Yeah.
it does up the game a little bit from Thunderball, but it's still a weak Bond film. I think it's overrated. I mean, funnily enough, I think it's my uncle's favorite. I mean, I don't understand why, but I mean, you know, it's his opinions. Fair enough. I mean, I think it's either that or one of Majesty's Secret Service. Actually, Mark Commode said in his Spectre review that On Her Majesty's Secret Service and Skyfall are his joint favourite Bond movies. So yeah, which is nice.
Rosie has no taste. Only joking.
Um, so diamonds are or never, forever. Sorry, forever.
What about On Her Majesty's Shitty Service?
we'll get to Lazenby afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, kind of wrap up yeah, I
Oh,
see
yeah,
what you're
just wrap
doing.
up Connery.
Yeah. Um, Diamonds Are Forever. Yeah, I mean, uh, this is my first Bond film, so I'm not gonna hate on it. I still really enjoy it, but it is a very flawed Bond movie. I mean, this came, around 4 years after You Only Live Twice. I mean, Connery left and he never wanted to return, but he was brought back, let we say, through some some green papery stuff led him back. Uh, Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, it'd been quite a while since Connery was last in the role. Lazenby took over, but we'll get to him in a minute. Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, off the back of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, it's just a very mediocre Bond film. It's a very, it's just a very like meh Bond film,
Well,
and
a
you could,
a lot of people say that the opening sequence should have been the entire film, like Bond going on a gritty revenge tale. That
yeah,
should have been the whole entire film, but oh well.
yeah. I mean, the open. I mean, speaking of which, I mean, Connery in this film. Connery just looks awful. I mean, Connery is just aged really badly here. I mean, he's
Oh,
only like I think he's only 40, but he looks like he's 50 plus. I mean, he looks really bad.
looks rough.
You could tell he's put on weight. He's whitened. He's gotten a lot older looking. Connery, he just doesn't look like he should. It looks like he shouldn't be there. Like, someone.
I think he looks really rough, and he was. I think he's tiring. Like at that point.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of which, Connery's performance here, I mean, while it's better than You Only Live Twice, it's still not great. It's kind of like Thunderball. He gives a so-so performance, you know.
High performance.
Yeah, I mean, he's mostly perked up, but there are a few scenes where like Thunderball, you're like tell he's like meh. I mean, um,
Really give a shit. He's in it for the paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, and he also got a contract deal with MGM for a few movies, so I mean,
I think,
yeah,
to be honest, it's a shame that this was his last one, and it's a shame that he's not enthusiastic about it. I mean, well, we thought that the previous one he was in was his last one, but no. Yeah, they brought him back for one more, and it's a shame that he had a not so good exit.
yeah. I mean, the problem with Diamonds Are Forever is it's just kind of like a very it's just a very strange departure after On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Like instead, like that was that was trying to get back more to the serious Bond, and Diamonds Are Forever. It's like let's go for the full on camp. I
Yeah,
mean,
in that sense, I suppose it kind of feels a little bit lost.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's disappointing considering Guy Hamilton is the director here, and he directed Goldfinger, which is like, well, probably one of the best, if not the best Bond film. So I don't know obviously what happened here, but obviously there were some production issues. I just think like also what for me, it does work slightly more over You Only Live Twice and Thunderball. I can enjoy this as a fun movie. It is fun. It's all right. It can be fun. I think it's an all right film, but it's not really a great Bond film. Like I don't really want to see it as a James Bond film just because some of the elements are just like too overt. Like I mean, Charles Gray as Blofeld. I do like Charles Gray as an actor. His Blofeld is pretty good. But the drag scene is a little unnecessary. It's not his fault, but it's just a little bit overkill for me.
mm,
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people bitch about it, but I mean, I think I've learned to accept it and pass it off. But it is uncalled for. It wasn't necessary. I mean, I do like Charles Gray though when he's like, "Oh, showing a bit more cheek." I'm
yeah.
like, damn you, Mr. Bond, damn you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Charles Gray. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said the climax is poor as well. It's an anti-climax as well. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Diamonds Are Forever, the problem is it just came off such a great Bond film. And, it's just,
Whoa, buddy!
I mean, it was bound to be disappointing anyway. So you can let it off in that sense, but you can't let it off in some other sense. But Diamonds Are Forever, I mean, overall, for me, I mean, being my first Bond film, and also like just as a Bond film, like as a bit of campy Bond film fun, it is enjoyable. I mean, I do find it enjoyable, and I can watch it and enjoy it and have a laugh. But like I said, there are problems in there, like like You Only Live Twice and Thunderball. But I mean, Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, the Spectre organization. Kind of going back to that, because like, I think we should mention them, because
Yeah.
Spectre. But Spectre here as an organization, they work well. I mean, this is actually their last time in the official series. Well, like it was the last time that we would see them till Spectre tomorrow. Or yeah,
Till tomorrow, yeah.
yeah, and
Could we briefly count the I suppose we can talk about it in a minute, can't we? After On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
sorry, what were you going to say?
I suppose we can mention For Your Eyes Only briefly after On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah, I mean, Spectre as an organization here, they work well, but they're kind of in the background. I mean, like it's not a great send off for Spectre, but it's not a terrible one either. I mean, they're not like hugely focused on, but they're serviceable here. Blofeld, Charles Gray. I mean,
Jump to the left.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think out of all the Blofelds, he's my favorite. I mean, I do enjoy Telly Savalas. He's very good as Blofeld. Of course, he was in the previous one, which we should talk about next. But yeah, I mean, Charles Gray as Blofeld. I just really enjoy his performance. And he's like, good evening, Mr. Bond. You could tell he's just having a ball playing Blofeld. I mean,
Blofeld? Oh no!
I mean, the whole plastic surgery plot is quite good. I mean, Blofeld is trying to hide his identity. Bond does know what he looks like now. He does know.
Only when he tucks him into the curry sauce.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that's quite funny. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, Spectre is an organization. We see like that Spectre. They've always been they've always been a pretty big organization, like particularly towards the end of the Connery era, like with You Only Live Twice and Diamonds Are Forever. They're sending rockets into space and satellites and all that, and
It's pretty much like from like in the Connery era, it's pretty much Bond versus Spectre, apart from in the film Goldfinger, obviously.
yeah,
The film is pretty much tackling Spectre.
yeah. I mean, here, like you said, I mean, I think what I think works about Diamonds Are Forever is that it's just a bit of camp fun. It knows what it wants to be. I mean,
Yeah.
you're saying it's kind of lost. It's lost in the terms. It's lost in terms of the series, in that after On the Master Secret Service we have a camp film, but that's the only sense it's lost in. But as a film itself, it's not lost.
Yeah, as a standalone film, it knows what it wants to be. But as a Bond film, and as the next installment, it kind of feels like slightly detached.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel detached. In the same way Thunderball feels detached from Goldfinger. Yeah, I mean,
Thunderball feels detached from life.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have some characters in there that are good. Like, I mean, I do like Tiffany Case. I know, some people. I mean, I know you think she's a bit ditzy, but
Yeah, she's a little bit ditzy. I mean, she's okay. I don't hate her, but I don't think she's one of the best Bond girls in the world. She gets a bit annoying sometimes, like when she's quite shouty. But I think she's good to look at. She's all right. Jules St. John does a good job with the role, and her chemistry with Connery is quite good. It's one of the more impressive things about the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just killed James Bond. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably, I'd say it's probably one of the most camp Bond films. I mean, with Moonraker and Die Another Day, I mean, Die Another Day is it's camp, but it's bad camp. But we'll get to that.
Well, maybe not in this hangout, but
Not in this hangout. Fuck no! Yeah, I mean, it's just, the Diamonds Are Forever. It's just a very, it's just like,
it's as a Bond film, it's really disappointing. But as a film, it's like, well, it's not the best made thing ever, but I'm enjoying it. It's actually quite fun. I
yeah,
mean, God, the one scene which I really didn't like was Bambi and Thumper. I'm sorry, but it was just the fact that Bond kept getting his ass kicked the whole
yeah,
time. He wasn't making any effort to try and defend himself. It was
yeah.
like,
I'm
hey,
Bambi, and I'm Thumper.
for God's sake, the names as well. Also, Leiter's in this as well. Felix Leiter. Word escapes me as to who the actor is, but I
It's
remember his
crap.
yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I don't remember him actually. He was very forgettable.
Yeah, I mean,
Also, one thing that is really good about this is the song by Shirley Bassey, "Diamonds Are Forever."
yeah.
It's a very good.
Diamonds are forever, forever.
Yeah, stroke it and undress it.
Oh, penis!
And you got the title sequence, which is quite good. Although word escapes me as to why the cat is in the title sequence, but fair enough. Whatever, whatever works. It's the song is definitely one of the classic Bond songs, and it's one of the only things that people seem to remember about this film. Also, Plenty O'Toole. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
it
I'm
offers,
plenty. Well, of course you are.
which definitely offers a certain cleavage to the film, which is nice.
She
Um,
leaves an empty space
yeah,
for us to enjoy.
when when she dies, you're like, oh, shame. It's like I didn't know there was a pool down there.
I didn't know there was a fucking penis down there. Yeah, I mean, Diamonds Are Forever. I enjoy it, but it does have its problems. But
It's
yeah,
an enjoyable mess.
yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Also, Winton Kid. We didn't mention about them yet.
Wincy Kid.
Yeah, like when I think when towards the end when Bond like gives him a wedgie or something, he goes, "Oh!" like his face, like, and then he just flips him over.
Yeah. Well, he certainly left with his tails between his legs.
He's trying to left with his tail for his legs. It's like there's only one problem, though, James. How do we get those down? Diamonds are forever. It's just it's a bit of a lame exit to Connery's era,
Yeah,
but still, uh,
it
was
kind of just ends like with Connery. Yeah,
I suppose
yeah.
you could say like it was trying to be like a reboot for Connery. Like it's like, hey, he left, after because we had Lazenby for the previous film, so
Here.
I suppose they wanted to kind of like start again with Connery. Like, so I suppose it's kind of like a reimagining slash reboot in a way,
Oh,
but not
yeah.
not really, but kind of.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it in my review. I gave it like a 6 out of 10. Like, I don't think I'd give it any higher than that. It is flawed, but it's all right. Bit of fun, but yeah, not an installment I rush back to, but I don't mind it. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, for me, if I have to rewatch a Connery film, I'd say probably Goldfinger, then From Us with Love, and then Doctor No, and then
yes,
Diamonds Are Forever. I'd say. So
and then Thunderball.
no, no, no. Then you only did twice, and then Thunderball.
That's our another day. God. So yeah, now we better take a step back and go back to the Lazenby era.
We're going backwards in time. Ooh, woo.
the entire Lazenby era, which is one film, and does feature Spectre
Well, outstanding achievement.
on Her Majesty's Secret Service. So, the George Lazenby era. After
Take it
you.
away, buddy. Oh, oh,
Well, I mean, this film is fantastic. There's no question about it. I mean, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a fantastic example of cinema, and Peter Hunt was an amazing director. He should have stayed on to do some more films. Uh, yeah, but what's great about On Her Majesty's Secret Service is the fact that it's different. It has the balls to be different. Because not only because they cast George Lazenby as Bond. Somebody must have had the balls to do that, but it has the it has the balls to tell the story in a completely different way. It doesn't stick to the new Bond formula. It deviates, but in a good way, which is great. With introducing
Break out the brandy.
the first time where Bond actually falls in love is awesome. I mean, even though Lazenby's a crap actor and you can't really delve into the emotions of the scenes of the love story until the end of the film, it still makes it really worthwhile. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a very unique Bond film, not just because it's the only one with George Lazenby, but just because it's different and it's so good. I mean, it is like it was probably up there, like behind
It's a
Goldfinger,
masterpiece.
the masterpiece. I mean, apart from George Lazenby, um,
Yuck.
but let's put aside George Lazenby, and I think at the time when
No,
it came
let's
out,
not, buddy. It's break out the brandy.
I think it was probably it was like the second best of the Bond films when it came out, behind Goldfinger.
Oh, uh, no, sorry, what was that again?
I'd say like when it came out in 1969, it was probably second best of the Bond franchise behind Goldfinger.
Well, at the time, it wasn't very well received. Like, it was kind of mixed, I think. Like, people didn't really think of it as high regard. But I think over time now, it's really, really gotten like higher. Like it's been
So
put
because of yeah,
because they
um,
realized. I mean, I think when it first came out, people, Connery had just left, and people, didn't know where the series was going to go, and they weren't really fans of Lazenby, so it was kind of like mixed reception. Yeah.
Lazenby.
Laser beam shooting my laser beam at you
But
lazy bees.
it does. The film does offer a lot. I mean, one of the best Bond girls ever, Dinah Rigger's Tracy.
Oh yeah, yeah, Tracy. Yeah, I mean yeah, she's just. I mean, what's really great about her is that she's kind of the first Bond girl to kind of. Well, Pussy Galore did, but she's kind of the first Bond girl to really like stand her ground against Bond. Like, she doesn't really
Yeah,
take any of his shit. Like, I mean, like Bond before this kind of, he's been kind of a womanizer, and he,
don't forget Moneypenny, I suppose. I know Moneypenny's not a Bond.
yeah,
She stands her ground against
yeah, well, she's kind of like flirting with him, but yeah, um,
him. God, yeah,
but yeah, I mean, sorry,
yeah, along with George Lazenby.
yeah, I'm a model, yeah, I mean, Diana Rigger's Tracy, she's probably one of the best Bond girls, if not the best. I mean, she's just, she's beautiful, and also she's just really intelligent, and she's smart, and she can kick some arse as well. I mean her Bond girl, like towards the end, I mean, she does struggle with the fighting. Like there is that guy like she tries to take out, and it takes her like ages, and she's finding it hard to fight him back. But you know, I mean, I think what's interesting as well is that she's quite suicidal.
Mm.
She's basically she doesn't know what to do with her life, and her
Her father wants to
marry her off. Yeah,
marry her off to have someone to look after her when he's gone, and so Bond kind of just comes in and well, in the form of George
and
Lazenby.
he's like, I'll fucking eat that. Oh, wait, sorry, I'll fucking eat that.
Our mistakes can be remedied,
Yeah.
and
I
so
mean,
that's the thing. George Lazenby. as James Bond. Of all the casting choices that have been made in Hollywood, this is by far the weirdest ever. Like
Yeah.
George Lazenby? Who the hell is George Lazenby? He's like this 29-year-old Australian model. I mean, I nearly said 19 there, but he's he's not good looking. He can't act. Like when he tries to deliver the one-liners, it's just cringy. Like, oh, another mistake. I was always told mistakes could be remedied between friends or even lovers.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a weird casting choice. Yeah, it'd be like casting Crocodile Dundee as James Bond. I mean,
No, it'd be like casting, Donald Pleasance as Mickey Mouse or something.
oh God, I mean, yeah, I mean that's the only one thing that
Silly
brings.
casting choice.
Yeah, I mean that's the only one thing that kind of brings down this masterpiece is.
Which is the main role.
Yeah, I mean, Lazenby is just. He's just
Twit.
laughable. I mean, he's just so laughably bad. I mean, especially like the Hilly scenes, like oh Hilly, slight stiffness coming on.
Ruby.
Yeah, like Hilary Bray is just fucking laughable. I mean, Lazenby, like you said, he's just the weirdest choice. It's like out of all the people in the world, you choose George Lazenby. It's like yeah, like who's ever heard of him? I mean. My theory is basically they just found some guys on the street, brought them in, and went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tigger by the toe, and then went they landed on Lazenby. You know what I mean?
It was like they were too overwhelmed with the pressure of recasting Connery. They just thought, well, he looks like Connery. Let's grab him. He's basically a Connery lookalike, but his acting
Yeah.
is shit.
I mean, the only thing I kind of do give him praise for is the action scenes. He's quite good at the action scenes, but apart from that, it's just kind of like
All of them. It's not
yeah,
really hard to be good at the action scenes. Sign up for any of the Bonds, really. I mean, well, the only two scenes where I genuinely believed his acting was, apart from the action scenes, was the proposal scene in the barn when he proposes to Tracy,
in
and
the end.
and the finale when she dies, which is pretty sad.
Spoiler alert!
His acting,
Wait,
yeah, spoiler alert, yeah, well, the film's old. People should have seen it by now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I mean, I think also it's a great film for Spectre as well. Just like having like the scope,
yeah.
and scale of it is awesome. Like going to the Alps and seeing Blofeld, and how he's trying to use his uh what, drugs, gas thing to
Yeah, no, yeah, I know he's trying to infect these girls,
yeah
to pass it on this infertility thing. Yeah,
yeah. Sorry, I couldn't remember what it was there for a moment. And Bond kind of gets caught up in all this, and you have kind of like this love story going on as well with him and Tracy, which is kind of it's it starts and then it kind of gets sidelined for the moment, and then it gets kind of they bring her back into the film like about 3/4 of the way in. The thing is also the film is really long. Like it's 2 hours 22 minutes. It's one of the longest Bond films to date. You do feel the length. You do feel the length.
yeah,
I mean, it is paced well or well enough, but some of the scenes during the middle with Bond as disguising himself as a Hillary do drag on a bit. Like
yeah.
when he's fornicating like all these women, like he goes between 3 different women, and it's like, Jesus.
And it's cringy to watch as well. Like, I mean, Lisa being the kilt.
Yeah.
I mean, that was obviously intended for Connery, but Lazenby may as well have had him in a fucking, like Santa Claus hat.
They may as well have, had him singing the Scottish national anthem. I mean, it's like they're not even making a joke out of it anymore. It's like they want you to believe, oh yeah, this guy's Sean Connery. This guy is definitely like Sean Connery. He's exactly like him. No, he's not.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
does George Lazenby's accent slip constantly?
yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, my name's Bond, James Bond. I mean, and also that terrible line. This never happened to the other fella. Oh,
What
fuck
the hell does
me.
that mean?
It's like, yeah, thanks for breaking the fourth wall. Like, cheap guy, come on.
Oh, no, oh God, I mean, can't even remember. Like, I think what was the other one? Oh, he had a lot of guts.
Well, that was all right,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I didn't mind that one.
Like,
But yeah,
and then at the end, after Blofeld, well, he doesn't die, but after Blofeld gets caught in the tree, and then Bond, the dog comes over and he's like, "What are you doing, boy? Go get the brandy."
Brandy.
What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it is rather sweet. The film is directed really well, and
Yeah,
it's made with a lot of love and care. And that, the ending is very emotional, and it's different as well. Like, you'd think that it would actually be the end of the franchise. I mean, if it was going to be
yeah,
the franchise, then it would be a good note to end on. I mean, despite the fact that you got
yeah,
George Lazenby, but just it's such an emotional film. It's the first Bond film for me. It's the first emotional Bond film
yeah.
that really kind of like.
To stir the emotions. Yeah,
Yeah, it was the first one that upped the ante in terms of emotions. Yeah, and Diana Rigg gives a really emotional performance as well. She does a great job as well. What's his name? Who plays Draco or Draco or whatever his name is? He's good as well. Also, Telly Savalas as Blofeld. I like him. And he's my favorite Blofeld. He's just very creepy and very,
yeah.
the way you hear his voice as he's trying to like
Who loves you, baby? Yeah,
you can like hypnotize the girls. I mean, like, oh god, and Irma Bunt as well. Fancy meeting you here, Fraulein.
yeah. Oh God. I
Like,
mean, what's even more cringy is they dub Lazenby. It's like, God.
yeah,
Oh,
what it
I
costs
mean,
if you're just gonna dub him anyway.
just to dub him throughout the whole film. We didn't need to hear his
Well,
stupid voice,
unless
but yeah.
he had the Sir Hilary voice for the whole film. This never happened to the other fellow.
Yeah, oh God.
Like,
I was like,
my name Bond, James Bond.
I love you, Tracy.
Like, we have all the time in the world. But also, funny enough, they don't have a song for the opening credits, and they have Louis Armstrong's "We Have All the Time in the World" during the like half an hour into the film, and they have a montage of Bond and Tracy falling in love. I mean, I think the music in this film is absolutely fantastic.
Hmm.
One of John Barry's best scores, I think, is definitely on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Just also that theme that plays during the opening credits. The dun 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 dun.
Dun, dun.
dun,
Oh God, imagine if Lazenby was singing it. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh
dun.
god!
Dun, dun, dun.
They did have a song called "On Her Majesty's Secret Service." They had, "On Her Majesty's Secret Service."
We'll never give a shitty service.
Well, it would be crazy. Um, I do think the film's a bit too long.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
think it's a tad bit long, and it does go on a bit. And you can only watch George Lazenby for so long.
Before your brain goes numb.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, the action is fantastic as well. Like the ski sequences, the bobsleigh chase at the end, the fight in Blofeld's lair, um, the fight at the beginning on the beach,
Yeah.
the fight in the hotel. Just generally, the action's really good. I don't have a problem with the action. The gun barrel. I mean, I don't know what to say about the gun barrel, to be honest.
Proposing.
Like Lazenby's on one knee, proposes to the gun barrel, gets down on one knee and shoots the
And it's
gun
like I
barrel.
think it's like the first and only gun sorry, Bond gun barrel where he disappears. Like where did Lazenby go,
Yeah, yeah, because then they do the thing where the barrel kind of moves, like back and forth, and then you kind of they zoom in on the hole and then whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like it's like the second film to have Harry Saltzman and Alvaro Broccoli. It's kind of like they're kind of rebooting it in a way, but
yeah. I
but
think that
not.
was the intention of this film because it was a
Yeah.
new actor. It was like, oh, it's a reboot. Yeah, it might as well be considered a reboot. Which is,
Yeah.
I suppose, why they decided to, you know, do the whole love story thing. Which,
I think it's kind of a semi reboot because they do have references to the older films, like in a title sequence and like when he's taking gadgets out of his drawer and stuff.
yeah, I mean, also the MI6 regulars, they're fine. I mean, it's a bit weird seeing Lois Maxwell and trying to flirt with George Lazenby. I mean, considering
Yeah.
that there's a bit of an age difference. I mean, he's only like 29, and she's like what? She's in her 30s, I think, isn't she?
Yeah, later 30s, I think. Yeah.
So, but nonetheless, um, I mean,
I was going to say actually, sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
But at the end when she dies, does it say James Bond will return? Like, does it
I
say in
think
Diamonds Are Forever or?
I don't know. I don't really know. I can't remember. I don't think it did. I think it said
Right.
James Bond will return, but I didn't say in which film.
Sorry, go on. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm just saying I don't know whether it did or not. If it did, it probably just said James Bond will return.
And Lazy Bees Are Forever.
God, and there's so many like behind the scenes stories about George Lazenby and the making of the film, and I mean Diana Rigg didn't really get on with him very well, and yeah, I mean he walked out before the premiere, so yeah, shows how much he cared.
Yeah. Um. Anything else you want to say about Her Majesty's Secret Service?
I think it's one of the best depictions, like one of the best portrayals of Spectre in the series so far. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we don't see Spectre to the full extent, obviously until Spectre, as in the film, tomorrow. But I think given it showcases Blofeld and just the scale of, of Spectre, I think is well displayed here. I mean, it's just a shame that it ended up in the film with George Lazenby, but oh well.
Yeah, I mean, sort of like to give my thoughts on Her Majesty's Secret Service. I mean, I agree. I mean, the film is a masterpiece. I mean, what's so refreshing about this film is that it's kind of it's a return to form after the last couple of films which weren't that great, and especially Thunderball. And it's like we're kind of returning to something like Goldfinger. I mean, the only things that kind of bring it down like a little bit is Lazenby. Like Lazenby is just he's unintentionally funny, but he's kind of he's laughable.
I'm trying to
But
think what the funniest scene with Lazenby is probably when he's Sir Hillary just trying to fornicate all these girls. Yeah.
oh yeah, ugh, don't remind me. But anyway, I mean the rest of Her Majesty's Secret Service. I mean the film is a masterpiece. I mean Peter Hunt just directs this, fantastically, and
It's kind of ironic that how with George Lazenby they have he did his first ever line in his one and only film is the famous line, my name's Bond, James Bond, and then with Daniel Craig they save it to the end of the film to his first one. He goes, the name's Bond, James Bond. I
yeah,
think it's interesting how I just found that ironic there.
yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah, that is a good point. I mean,
Hello. Oh, hello.
sorry about that.
Oh right. Yeah. Um. Yeah. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I mean, the whole George Lazenby thing is. I don't know. It's controversial. I don't
I'm
even know.
back.
Yeah. I don't even know what to believe with George Lazenby now. Like there's so many stories about how he got the role, and then like how much he wanted the role as well. Like, oh, he didn't care about it, and then it's the next minute he really wanted it. It's like, what do I believe? Do I care? It was only for one film anyway, so. Ugh.
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry, there was a technical glitch there. But going on a massive Secret Service. What was I saying? Sorry, before.
George Lazenby.
Yeah, George Lazenby. I mean, the film itself is masterfully directed by Peter Hunt. It's just such a refreshing return.
Shame they couldn't hunt for a good actor to play James Bond.
Yeah, because he was a cunt. Sorry.
It was Huntonby.
Cunt me. Okay. Okay, let's lay on a break for a minute. Um, but anyway, on a massive Secret Service, I just what's really great about it is it's the first Bond film really to it's the first emotional Bond film, like you said. That's what's so great about it. It's like, Bond before this, with Connery, he was always like the womanizer, he just got into bed with the ladies and then, he loved them and left them.
I
And
love
then,
getting paid, so fuck you.
yeah, he got his finger out, his gold finger. But but anyway, I mean, what's so great about here is, Bond is, he finds himself for the first time, like, fall in love, and it's just really, interesting to see, and the way Peter Hunt directs it is it's just so emotional, and it's just so well done. I mean, that montage with, we have all the time in the world. Well, Lazenby didn't. The montage is great with Diana Rigg, and like, saying
Yeah.
that, we talked about it a bit earlier. Diana Rigg as Tracy. I was about to say Stacy there. Stacy
Oh.
Sutton.
James, believe me, James, James, James.
Yeah,
Oh, I
but
can't shout 'cause I'm losing my voice. But
yeah,
yeah, um, I
but
agree with you.
yeah, thanks. But yeah, I mean, Tracy, like played by Diana Rigg, she's brilliant. She's definitely one of the best Bond girls, if not the best Bond girl. Her just like her relationship, it's just her character is so interesting. We see that, she has problems with herself and with her life. She's very suicidal, like we see at
What
the
is it called?
start.
A social worker. Gonna sort the whole thing out. What do you call George?
Fucking psychiatrist.
I'm called fucking George Lazenby.
Oh, God. Fucking laser beam out there, fucking psychiatrist. Yeah.
Do you think I've got time to sort your problems out? I've got too much money to earn.
Oh God, yeah, but
Oh, sorry.
no, that's fine. It's fine. I mean, getting back to what I was saying, what's great about her character? She's just a very interesting character. There's a lot of layers to her. Layers like onions have layers.
She's very strong-headed, and she doesn't really give in to her father's requests. She's like, basically, let me live my life. Tell me, just basically treat me like an adult. She wants to be treated, fairly by her dad, and you can tell her and her father have a bit of a rocky relationship, given that her mother's died. And Bond just kind of comes in and weaves his way into her into her bed, and then when all things go smoothly, they rock the Casbah, and
They get it on, get it on, get it on.
God, I mean, it's interesting that you know it's the Lazenby era is just one film. So,
Beginning, middle, and the end of his
yeah,
era.
yeah, the middle of his era is like him as Sir Hilary, starring women, and then like the beginning of his era is like the first. I don't know, like because the film's like 2.5 hours long. I mean, anyway, as an era, it's
Pretty
good.
crap. Only joking.
No, it's amazing as an era. I mean, it's only
Yeah, one film. Yeah.
one film. It was the beginning of a new era, and also the middle, and also the end.
Yeah. It was all three
And then they
for
went back to the
Lazy
old,
V.
and then they went back to the old era.
Yeah, but anyway, Tracy is just a great Bond girl. Like, she's interesting because she does have layers, and I mean, we see at the start, she's suicidal, and she has a lot of problems. She penis. She didn't fucking eat it. Yeah, she's we see she's suicidal, and throughout the whole of the film, we see that Bond, at first Bond isn't interested, and she isn't interested in Bond, but we see over time, her father wants to marry her off. He says, oh, should have a man to control her and dominate her, which not very PC, but yeah, we see Bond, he's kind of
Tracy, wait.
yeah, we see like Bond's kind of paid to like look after her, and kind of
Yeah,
like
like he offers him a check of. I think he gives him a check of like $1 million or something.
this
And
would be
then,
better than my contract.
oh god! And then at the end of the film, when he gets married, he gives the money back to him because he realizes how much he
I'm
loves.
not a fuck sucking whore.
Lol, you gotta fucking eat. Um, but yeah, no, it's nice that Bond actually realizes it was never about the money, and he gives the money back to Draco, and because he loves his daughter, and he's like, what's more important, the money or the love? And quite frankly, the love.
In the money.
Shame that we couldn't love Lazenby just as much, but oh well, you can't win them all.
It's a shame I couldn't love Diana Rigg because I love the money.
Mm.
All right, enough Lazenby jokes. But anyway, the
Who
rest
said
of
it
the
was a
film.
joke?
Yeah, I think I'm getting a bit off topic here, but
Yeah.
back to the film instead of Lazenby. Well, he's in the film, but uh, it's really interesting to see their relationship develop. Like at first, they kind of clash heads. Um, they're not really suited to each other. But we see Bond. He's kind of paid to look after her and stuff, and we see Bond. Like by doing this, he starts to fall in love with her, and the montage is great. And we see Tracy. She feels her life is a lot better and a lot more like complete, and and the film itself, like we were saying about Spectre, I mean, they were. I said like before they were probably at their peak at You Only Live Twice, but here is I think is probably their peak. It's definitely their peak. I mean, Spectre here as an organization is the best so far out of the whole series. I mean, Skyfall, sorry, not Skyfall, Spectre. We have to see how that's going to turn out. But here, Spectre as an organization, it's just it's at the top of its game. We really see Blofeld. Telly Savalas as Blofeld. He's fantastic. He does a great job as Blofeld. He's creepy. I still he's still not my favorite Blofeld, but he's very high up. A lot better than Donald Pleasance.
And the guy from You Only Live Twice. No, sorry, fuck, For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah, well,
Fuck.
if you count him as Blofeld, but yeah, I
Bald's
mean,
in wheelchair.
yeah, and also yeah, you have what's great about Spectre here is you get to see their lair like that, that lair in the
Which
Himalayas.
is the same place they're revisiting it in Spectre the film.
Yeah,
Looks great. Actually, I think there's a couple of shots in On Her Majesty's Secret Service when Bond is arriving in the Alps. The layer looks very similar. Like, I think in the new film, they've kind of mirrored some of those shots to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. They've paid homage to it, and they've made the layer look quite similar. Obviously, it's going to be more contemporary, but it's nice how the new film is kind of paying paying respect to this film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, even though it's the film with arguably the worst Bond of them all.
Hey, you're talking about me, buddy.
I said you talking about. Show some respect.
Yeah, but the I mean the film, it's I mean Spectre as an organization are at the top of their game here. They're really great here. See Emma Bunt, she's a great hen. It's really interesting to see how like Spectre, the guards and all that, and the lair itself, like Spectre's like really quite a military might here, and Blofeld is, I mean the plot is just really great. He's going to send
I
these
mean,
girls off.
I don't
And
actually know how this film would have worked with Connery. It might have been severely different.
yeah, I mean, would it have worked better if Connery? Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Uh, it may have also been better with Roger Moore as well, but yeah, I mean, but we're stuck with Lazenby, so
Like
there you go. I
those
mean,
mistakes could be remedied between friends or even lovers.
yeah, I mean, the film, Inspector as an organization, fantastic. I mean, the plot is just so great. He's going to send these girls off, these angels of death, I think he calls them. It's like
Again,
Nazi.
this is another one of those films that got transplanted into the 007 Legends game, and with the kind of the Daniel Craig render on the game
I
and the
have to
guy.
say, though, that level is really fun. It's probably the best of the game.
Which one? The first level or the second level?
What was, yeah, I think it was the first level. The attack on
On the
the
left.
yeah,
Oh, that was the second level. The first
yeah,
level was the going down the hill, like the skiing level. I mean, it was really hard. It was really hard.
yeah.
But they had Daniel Craig, all the guy doing an impression of Daniel Craig, a really bad impression of Daniel Craig.
But actually saying that, I think Craig, like watching it, Craig would have actually fit in that Bond film. I mean, without the new century stuff, of course, but he would have actually made this film a lot better as well if Craig had been in
Yeah.
it, because
I
him
mean,
and Diana Rigg,
given
yeah,
given what he does, given that he kind of does the same thing in Casino Royale, you kind of think, yeah, Craig could do it, you know.
yeah. I mean, I mean, anyway, I mean, speaking about the film itself, like we're talking about like the skiing and all.
Also,
I mean, you have some
it's worth,
great.
sorry, very briefly while we're touching on the Bonds, it's worth mentioning that Dalton was actually considered for the role of Bond after Connery, but he declined it because he thought he was too young. So it would have been interesting to see how Dalton would have tackled this
Yeah.
story and his portrayal of Bond at this stage. Like oh, Tracy, I thought Thomas Dix could be remedied between friends or even lovers. Come here, you sexy beast.
Break out the brandy.
Ah, Blofeld. I mean, oh god, it would take more than cutting off your earlobes, Blofeld.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the Angels of Death thing is really interesting. Like, he's gonna send them out and they're gonna cause infertility, and he's trying to hold ransom, like MI6 and stuff, and it's interesting because we have Bond's coat of arms and we see the world is not enough. Reference. I
Yeah.
mean, which to another not so great Bond film, uh, but anyway, with meow, but yeah, yeah, we got a hit and a meow, and uh, well, that's around the corner. That's 20 years later, but no, Lazenby here, he's just as a Sir Hilary Bray, it's just laughable because he's going
Almost
undercover
like
and
playing two different characters.
yeah, and it's just, I mean, the dubbing is just like, oh, and like you said, like the worst scenes are like the scenes inside the lair, and like when he's with the girls and he's like, oh, just a slight stiffness coming on. You're just like, oh, God, I mean,
No,
that's yeah, that's probably like the most cringiest like scene in the film, and
to be fair,
but
though, like a couple of those girls are really hot.
yeah, but I mean, it's really interesting as well because like we see these girls, yeah, we see these girls have been like taken in by Blofeld and they kind of been like kept there, and kind of like raised there. I guess like kind of like they've been like, well, he's bringing. What's interesting is like he's bringing them in like because they have all these different diseases or they have all these different things. And he's pretending to cure them, but actually he's hypnotizing them and stuff. And Spectre come across really sinister here as an organization, like really like in the shadows and sinister. And like the military like might, like you see a lot of soldiers with guns and stuff. And I mean the laird itself is fantastic, and Blofeld you can really tell is like the number one of Spectre. And um you can't tell that they're all about world domination. They're all about taking over the world. And you know that kind of thing, causing terrorism, all this stuff. And I mean, and here they're great. I mean, and also like the love relationship's great. And and the stunts are great. And at the end it's just really sad because Bond, you had that bobsleigh scene, and you see Blofeld like kind of breaks his neck, but he survives. But you have to, you see the scene at the end. They get married, and Bond reveals that he truly loves her, and he doesn't take the money. And we see at the end, everything's fine, and then Blofeld, he strikes back. The Empire strikes back.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I mean, you see like Spectre still around, and Ema Bond, he kills Tracy, and it's just a really emotional, moment. It's just a really sad moment. And that bit where he kind of, he cradles her, and you know she dies. And
He says
he's
that
like,
we have all the time. We have all the time in the world.
yeah, I mean, that's probably the best bit of acting from Lazenby, and it's actually a really great acting moment from Lazenby.
And it's the
You,
only one that's in the film from him.
yeah, and the ending's just so powerful. And I mean, overall, it's a fantastic Bond film. I mean, it is a masterpiece. I mean, the Lazenby, Lazenby's kind of the big detractor, and it does go on a bit too long. But
I mean,
apart from,
if the film had Connery in it, or well, anybody but Lazenby, then
yeah,
maybe the film would have
well,
ranked.
well no, I mean Brosnan. Ugh.
I mean, if if they had Connery in it, it might have ranked even higher in the list.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, that's the only downfall. But I mean, yes, downfall. Adolf Hitler. See Kyle. Yeah,
But
I mean, Lazenby, his attitude was kind of like, I don't know what his attitude was. Like that one moment he says he loved it, one moment said he didn't want it. It's kind of like make up your mind, Lazenby. Come on. It's like yeah, you didn't want the role. I'm sure, Lazenby. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, but yeah. I mean, overall, it's a great film. I mean, apart from those, I think I give it maybe a nine or a 10. I'll probably give it a 10 anyway. It's that good.
I could still give it a 10 because it's an
Yeah,
amazing film. It's just Lazenby.
I give it a 10 too. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it gets a 10. But yeah, I mean, I think we've covered all of the films that have Spectre in them so far.
Well, for your eyes only, touch upon that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't credited as Blofeld, but in the opening sequence, we have Bond visiting Tracy's grave, which is nice. I suppose we might as well talk about that because we've just talked about Her Majesty's Secret Service. So, yeah, it's a nice little nod back to that. And yeah, Roger Moore goes into the helicopter, and then Blofeld, or whoever this guy is, guy with cat, and then Bond picks up the guy with the bottom of the helicopter and chucks him in the pit. I mean, that one line, "Oh, I'll buy you a delicatessen in stainless steel." It's like, what? Say again.
Yeah.
I don't really get that.
Yeah, it's like what the fuck. Yeah, I
Oh well.
mean that for your eyes only moment. It's. I think it was kind of like, cause I mean Bond was, I mean the whole. I mean I think we should maybe talk a little bit about the rights issues. Like Spectre after Diamonds Are Forever, it was meant to return in The Spy Who Loved Me with Roger Moore. Like instead of Stromberg, it was going to be Blofeld, but because of the rights issues with Kevin McClory, after 12 years, after Thunderball, which was 1965, so after 12 years, the rights were up, so they couldn't use Blofeld and Spectre, which is a shame because they took a massive departure, and then it returned in For Your Eyes Only, but the rights issues were still going on, so it's not technically credited as Blofeld, but also it's kind of like a continuity error. Like, the last time we saw Blofeld was in Diamonds Are Forever, and he didn't look like that. I mean, I think John Glenn must have missed Diamonds Are Forever because, it makes more sense if For Your Eyes Only is set after On Her Majesty's Secret Service. But yeah, it's kind of a weird pre-credit title sequence, kind of taking the piss out of like Blofeld, like we don't really need them and stuff. But yeah, I mean, should we talk briefly about Casino and Quantum? Or just
Um, I think we should just talk about Skyfall because it was the previous one. It was the 50th anniversary. Just a quick touch on the 40th anniversary. It was shit. Um, let's move on to the 50th anniversary. Skyfall. I mean, we're just literally going to whiz through this because of time. I mean, it's quite late, and we'll talk a bit about Spectre, as in the film coming up, what we expect from it. Obviously, there's no actual kind of Spectre in Skyfall, obviously, because they're in the next film. But as the 50th anniversary, Skyfall, just wow. I mean, it ticks all the boxes for me.
Ticks all the boxes of being shit. Only joking.
Oh, well, yeah. Fucking hate that. It just, for me, it was the film that kind of brought me into Bond. I mean, I'd seen a few of them before I'd seen Skyfall, but I wasn't as much of a fan as I am now. So I thank Skyfall fully for that. And Sam Mendes just pulled everything in the right direction. Just, because Quantum of Solace wasn't received very well by everyone. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. And I know you love it, Jack. But Skyfall for me is a huge step up. And it's what we needed for the 50th anniversary. It was such, it was such a great movie. And it did that. It did that thing of not deviating too much from formula, but when it did deviate, it did it really well, like with On Her Majesty's Secret Service and Casino Royale, and in some ways Live and Let Die. Like, just the whole idea of going back to Bond's roots. Never was the time more perfect to do that than the 50th anniversary, and they did that really well, like with Bond and M going to Hideaway in Skyfall, and then, St. Kincaid, and just it's just an awesome film. I mean, and just the way they develop Bond's characters, but like Daniel Craig's Bond is, for me, I'd see him as the one. He's the most developed James Bond. Like in his first film, Casino Royale, he goes through a mental challenge of trying to beat the Schiefer at the card game, and then Quantum of Solace is trying to, undergo an emotional challenge of trying to overcome Vesper's death. And in Skyfall, he's trying to overcome a physical challenge. He's trying to rebuild himself up in that sense, going back to his roots is quite symbolic. The fact that he's rebuilt himself up and he has to go back to his roots in order to kind of build up an arsenal to defeat Silver. I never thought of it like that until now. So that was it's an interesting thing. It's very clever. It's a clever Bond film, and yeah, Spectre's a lot to live up to. Just everything is awesome, like the action, the music. Adele's song, Daniel Craig as Bond, Judi Dench's final performance as M is brilliant. The plot as well, just the plot, the fact that it revolves around him as well is nice. I mean, Silver is one of the best Bond villains we've ever seen. I mean, he's absolutely fantastic. I mean, he's so sadistic and creepy, and you can kind of understand his reason for hating M, but he is a psycho. And it's kind of interesting, like Mark can describe this, but it's kind of like the character arcs are kind of like in this kind of big intricate triangle, like it all revolves around M, and Bond and Silver are like two halves of the same character, like, and they're kind of like they have a similar relationship to her. Like she's like mother, she's like M for mother. It's quite clever the way they've developed the characters in this film.
Bond's like the brandy, and
Well,
M's like the gin.
there are references to the previous films, but subtly, not like Die Another Day where they chuck the shit at your face and you can't wipe it away. But it's it's nice. It's done tastefully, and it's an epic Bond movie. There's no question. Like the scale of it is enormous, and the action sequences are superb, and the cinematography is is amazing. It's probably the most visually stunning Bond film we've had yet. I mean, Spectre looks awesome too. So we'll see how that stacks up. But Skyfall is just such a colourful film, and I think Roger Deakins got snubbed at the Oscars. I'm sorry, but he deserved that. He really did deserve that. I mean, yeah, nice that Adele won an Oscar for the song, but
He definitely deserves it for this Bond film. I mean, even though it's not out yet, telling from the trailer, he deserves it anyway. I mean,
look,
yeah.
Dead Day Parade. That moment in Spectre looks awesome.
What bit?
The Dead Day Parade in Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as for Skyfall, it's the 2.5 hour Bond film. It is the best paced Bond film I think there is so far. There was never a dull moment whatsoever. There's always something happening, and keeps you thoroughly entertained, and it adds a bit more into it as well. I mean, it comes full circle, when them bringing Q and Moneypenny back, and the new M, Rafe Fiennes, who we see at the end. I mean, but for most of the film, he's Mallory. He's Inspector as M, which is nice. But yeah, and obviously we've got Tanner as well. But yeah, and the soundtrack by Thomas Newman is awesome too. I mean, it was nice. I think it was a nice move to have a new composer. I mean, David Arnold did a great job in the Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace with his soundtracks there, and they were great. But I think it was nice that he moved on. I mean, these ones for the Brosnan ones aren't the best, but they're all right. Better than the films. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about Skyfall that I haven't already said in the reviews. I mean, Skyfall is a masterpiece. It is a fantastic movie, and it hits you on every emotional level as well. Like, you find out more about the origins of Bond and how he, when his parents died, and how he kind of changed after that. And then when Judi Dench's M dies, it is really sad, and you can't help but shed a tear. I mean, Daniel Craig shed a tear as well, and he's
You
like,
drink a beer.
yeah, Heineken product placement, but yeah, I don't know what else to say about Skyfall, and it's nice to have some action in London as well. Like, we haven't had any major sequences in London since well, there's not enough.
Oh, oh God.
I mean, an entertaining boat chase. Don't get me wrong, but the opening was too long. I think Skyfall just I I don't know what else to say about it really. I mean, it's just Daniel Craig is at ease now. He's got the role. He knows how he wants to play it now. Like the first film, Casino Royale, was him discovering Bond, becoming Bond. Quantum was him, emotionally trying to deal with a tragic event, and his Bond was quite shut off. I mean, in this one, he's allowed to be a bit more free, and he's allowed to be a bit more humorous and light. There's actually some nice humor here. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
No, it's rubbish. Only joking. Yeah,
You
it's
fucking
great.
idiots! Write a better script, you fucking twats!
Oh God, yeah. Go on.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to carry on.
No, no. Have you finished what you wanted to say about
I haven't
Skyfall?
really got much else to say.
All right. No, Skyfall. It's a great. It's a fantastic Bond film. I mean, being the most
Really,
recent.
though? Is it?
No, no. It's crap. I mean, no. I mean, being the most recent Bond film until tomorrow. Um, it's just fantastic. I mean, this was really the revitalization that we needed. I mean, after Quantum of Solace, which had mixed reviews, MGM was in a bit of a financial crisis. So when this came 4 years later, it was just so fresh and just so great. I mean, Sam Mendes just completely revitalized the franchise with this, and everything's great about it. I mean, Daniel Craig probably gives his best performance of the entire um of all three films so far. We see that he's kind of like he's a damaged Bond, he's a damaged person. We kind of have a reference to the older Bond films, but it's not like you only live twice, where it's kind of like pointless, like, oh, you only live twice. No, it's about him rebuilding himself, and it's just such a great merge of the classic Bond and the modern Bond. Like, before this, Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, it kind of ditched just a few of the classic Bond elements, and a lot of people were annoyed about that. But with Skyfall, it brings back all the classic Bond elements, and it just merges them together so well. You got a great villain played by Javier Bardem. He's just fantastic as Silva. He's also great in No Country for Old Men. But here he's fantastic. He kind of has that personal connection to M. He used to be an MI6 agent, and we also see Q in this, played by Ben Whishaw. Who's great. Naomi Harris. We find out at the end she's Moneypenny, and we also have the stuff with MI6. What's going on in MI6? Um, they're kind of in trouble because of what happened
Political
with Bond
stuff.
and the MI6 blowing up. And sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, just like the political stuff, and also the inquiry scene. Didn't you just want to kill that woman, that MP, who was like constantly interrupting Judy Dench all the time? Like, oh, she was annoying. But I mean, anyway, I mean, there's one thing I do have to criticize. It's only my only criticism is Severine. I mean,
And the product placement.
yeah, well, I mean the product placement. I don't really care about that. But Severine, the character's really good. The character's really well developed, considering how little she's on screen. But that is the problem. She's not on screen very much. She's pretty much the only Bond girl we get in this film, and she's only on screen for like 10 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
And she dies in quite a brutal way, which is a shame, really. I mean, because her backstory is really quite tragic and interesting, which makes the shower scene a bit creepy.
Do, do, do.
I mean, he's like, "I like you better without your Beretta."
Yeah, that is quite a not a very PC scene. Like we said, I mean, Bond isn't a very PC franchise, so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no, I can deal with it, but it's just
yeah.
it is. I mean, thinking about it, it is a little bit creepy. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
but
Oh.
uh, to be fair, it's not as creepy as Silver.
I like you better without your Beretta. Well, I have it right here. Ah. Well, imagine if she's just shot Craig in the shower. It's like I like you better without your Beretta. It's like, well, I have it right here.
Yeah, at least
Shoots him in the dick. Oh God!
at
Get
least
off me, you bastard!
at least Judy Dench wasn't in the shower.
Oh God, Muffy!
I like that. Beretta. Bond? Oh, for the love of
I knew. I thought M was a randomly assigned letter. I never knew it stood for Muffy.
Never knew it stood for Muffy. Oh, also, one character I really do like is Kincaid. I mean, I know he's only brief, but I don't know. Like, he's a really good character. Like, I mean, because he's also like he knows Bond. Like, he's the only character we've seen in the series that knows Bond as a child, who's known Bond as a child. So, in that sense, he's a very unique character, and we get through Kincaid, we get a further insight into Bond as a child, which is nice. I mean, wouldn't you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And his
But
one line as well, "Welcome to Scotland." Love it.
yeah, I love that, and I love the final fight with Bond on his home turf, and it's great to see his home from Skyfall. just fantastic. Um, just overall to wrap up on the film, also Skyfall, the song by Adele, great. The title sequence, brilliant.
One more brief thing. People criticise the climax for being like a Home Alone ripoff, which I completely don't understand. I mean,
It's like fuck off. Like, oh, I mean,
Home Alone did they have a psycho maniac uh, come to destroy an old woman?
yeah, the people die in Home Alone.
Like they weren't after the fact. They weren't after anyone in particular, any one person. They were just after the house, the stuff in the house, the goods. Like they were just going to burgle the house. They weren't after the kid, like Macaulay Culkin. Although, given the way his career turned out, it was probably best that they probably did take him. But that's a different film. But no, and
Or should we be Home Alone too? Oh.
God, also the soundtrack by Thomas Newman, just brilliant. I mean, it's incredible. I love the music for Skyfall.
Yeah, I also don't understand when people say it's overrated. I mean, and I also don't understand the comparisons to The Dark Knight Rises. They came out the same fucking year.
Like, oh, Sam, just because Sam Mendes took inspiration from The Dark Knight doesn't mean that it's completely the same thing or that it's based off of it. Okay, he's added some dark elements, in the sense that Bond has to rebuild himself. Fair enough, but that's not. It's done it in a way that's like it's not done in the same way. Bond is a completely different
He
franchise.
doesn't wear hockey pads.
Yeah, no, I'd be surprised if he does. Yeah, I mean, also like the end of the film gets you excited for the future as well. Like the way it comes full circle. I mean, you just sort of realize, oh,
It's a
right,
fucking shit legacy. Only joking.
we've got a lot to look forward to.
We got nothing to look forward to. It looks fucking shit. Only
Yes,
joking.
Skyfall raised the bar, so how Spectre,
Gold bar.
yeah, how Spectre will ever come close to that, I don't know, but it looks promising. And just on a final note before we wrap this hangout up, what are you expecting from Spectre, the Bond film?
I'm inspecting the inspector for Spectre. No,
Expect to get
I'll get you next time. Gotcha. Wow, Chief. Yeah, uh, Spectre. I'm expecting it to be fucking shit. No, it looks very good. I'm expecting the whole quantum storyline to be wrapped up. I'm expecting more about Bond's past, more references to the past films, and honestly, I'm just expecting more. I'm expecting more. I'm expecting more. I mean, given what Sam
Roger.
Mendes did, yeah. Given what Sam Mendes did with Skyfall, I think he has a lot to live up to. But even if it's not as good as Skyfall, I'm not going to judge it compared to that. I'm not going to judge it compared to Skyfall. I'm going to judge it on its own merits and, how it wraps up the Craig era. Because, I mean, this film has probably been the most anticipated, one of my most anticipated films, probably the most anticipated film of this year. I mean, you and me have been doing hangouts on this for ages, and been anticipating it.
I would hope that this isn't the last of the Craig era. I hope that there's still one more left in this after Spectre, but
Yeah,
the last Craig film, then hopefully he'll go out with a bang.
yeah, exactly. I
And a
don't.
big bang with a lovely lady.
I don't think it will be. He has one left in his contract, so I'm hoping he's going to do one more. I heard it's a two-part story, so I think the next one will be his last. But I think, just from the anticipation, from me and from you, it just looks like it's going to be so good. And there's going to be plenty of I think there's going to be plenty of reference in there for like old school Bond fans, and not in a way like Die Another Day where it just shoves it in your face, like, just throws it at you like, oh, reference, reference, reference. Just like, no, I don't think it'll be like that. It'll be respectful like Skyfall, not like so loads of references. I mean, I'm just expecting for a great action movie, a great emotional movie, but most of all, just a great Bond movie. At the end of the day, I just want some family entertainment, just some fun.
Well,
Um,
I wouldn't say the Bond movies are family orientated. Well, not all of them anyway. I mean,
well,
um,
what I mean is like they kind of are for the family though. In some most cases, I mean,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
not like with young kids though.
yeah, I know that, but I mean, I'm just expecting a good Bond film. That's all at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I I really want it to keep to the standard that we've got at the moment. With that the Craig era has set, and hopefully it won't be the last Craig film. And he'll do one more, and then he'll go out with a bang. And I mean, this film I've been anticipating. I mean, we've waited 3 years for this, 3 years, and let's hope it's been worth
That's
it.
nothing. That's waiting another 30.
Oh God, yeah, no. I mean, it has been quite a while since Skyfall. I mean, it has gone quick actually. The time has gone very quick, but um,
Slow and quick.
yeah, bits of both. The excitement's just too real now. I mean, it's not long. It really isn't long to go now, and
It's tomorrow. It's literally 43 minutes.
oh, so yeah. Obviously the first showing is not for me. Is not till tomorrow evening. So,
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying 43 minutes to the day, buddy.
yeah. Oh, I mean, it's one of those films that you have to see on the big screen. Bond, I think, is made for the big screen, and I hope Spectre adds to that legacy.
The legacy of shit. Only joking. Die Another Day was the best in the series.
From a technical standpoint.
Not even.
uh, but no, I mean, 53 years and it's still going strong.
Are you kidding me? It's worse than ever. Fucking hell, that Daniel Craig. He's just such a blonde beefcake. Just get him out.
Yeah, but no, I think that pretty much wraps up what we've got, what we've said about all of the films. The Bond Beefcake. Uh, I mean,
He's a
Spectre,
beef casserole. He's a beef Wellington.
I think, like Spectre as an organization, they're a part of the Bond franchise. It wouldn't be Bond without them. I mean, even though they've not been predominant from the Moore era to the Brosnan era
Brosnan era.
and the first three films of the Craig era, it's still they're still a huge part of the franchise for me anyway. And I
Not
hope
really.
I hope that Spectre, the new film, modernizes Spectre in a good way, like makes it contemporary for like people who have kind of just come into the franchise or are fairly new or haven't seen the old films. This would be great for them because they'll get a first taster of what it's like, and then they might be encouraged to go back and look at how Spectre used to be in the previous films. And it's going to be interesting to see how if Oberhauser is Blofeld, how Daniel Craig faces off against him. So yeah, roll on 24, Spectre.
Roll it on with the roller skates.
Yeah. But anyway, that's it. So thank you all for watching. I'm MrTardis11. This is The Watcher, and see ya.